Bobby Labonte comes in dressed as the reigning series champion, but last Sunday his frightening flip at Talladega was the latest disappointment in a spooky season of struggle. In a season full of success, Tony Stewart has become racing's real-life Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a scary mix of achievement and anger. After being haunted by frustration in 2000, Jeff Gordon is once again wearing the look of a winner, a scary sight for everyone else in the neighborhood. This Halloween, the most popular costumes will honor our heroes, and NASCAR is proud to stand beside them. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot and loud! NBC Sports presents NASCAR. Today, it's 312 miles for the Winston Cup Series, live from the Phoenix International Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. This is no costume party. These guys have come dressed for the win. But this flat track at Phoenix has more tricks than treats. Even for the most talented driver, racing here can make for a devil of a time. Hi everybody, Bill Weber along with Benny Parsons on the wagon right next to pit road, and welcome to Phoenix. 5 races to go. Jeff Gordon's lead in the championship race is now 395 points. That's the largest lead of the season. Jeff Gordon is chasing a championship. He has never won here. His crew chief, Robbie Loomis, has. But while Gordon is chasing that championship, a bunch of guys in this field are racing for their next meal, Benny.
Bill, I looked at the starting lineup last night, and I found 7 drivers that are not set up for next year. They don't have a ride for next year, so they're auditioning today, trying to show all these owners they can get the job done. Also, 5 cars in this lineup today. Their sponsor is not set for next year. And we all know just how expensive this sport is. They need something on the quarter pound to help pay the bills. And 5, at this point, don't have it.
Well, Jeff Gordon is the meal ticket for his team. In the last 13 races, he has 11 finishes of 9th or better. In those 13 races, he has outscored Dale Jarrett by 514 points and Ricky Rudd by 387 points. For Jeff Gordon, times are good. So let the good times roll. It's the big wreck on the final lap.
And how Jeff Gordon got through that is amazing.
All you see is smoke and cars go sideways. You just try to hold the steering wheel straight and get through it somehow.
Jeff Gordon did get through the wreck. He gains 61 points.
Well, Jeff Gordon has had plenty of reason to smile lately. The lead is huge. I would ask him if he's comfortable, but he would be politically correct and say he is not comfortable yet. But I will ask you, are you guys protecting the lead at this point, Jeff?
No, absolutely not. We're coming here to Phoenix. We've never won here, and we want to win our first Winston Cup race here. You know, Robbie Loomis has won one, but the 24 DuPont Chevrolet team has not. So, you know, we're doing everything we can to fight for every position, every point, and we hope that's a win. You know, we still think that you just can't protect points right now. There's still 5 races left to go, and it's too early.
And for once, they feel good about their chances of racing here at Phoenix and the possibility of a win. To Matt Yoakum.
Marty, Jeff Burton has regained his late season stride of 2000. Starting in Charlotte, he's reeled off 3 straight top 5 finishes, something he hasn't done all year. And he won here last year from the front row. Jeff starting 3rd today. Is this place, judging by past history, a good barometer to judge if you and your team are finally back?
Well, I like to think it is. We ran real well in practice yesterday. If we can translate that into today, that certainly will feel good. We had a great test at Homestead. Starting to feel like we're getting a little bit better handle. We're still not exactly where we need to be, but I think we've made strides. We still have to continue to improve if we want to come into next year and contend for the championship. But there's a lot of racing left to do this year. It's real important for us to get the end of this year done and feeling good about it so that we have a direction that we're headed in next year, and that's what we're putting our focus on.
Only the late Davey Allison has won more than one race here at Phoenix. Burton hoping for back-to-back wins. Let's go back to Bill.
Thanks, Matt. This week, NASCAR fined Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief Tony Uri Sr. $25,000 because following the win last Sunday at Talladega, the Budweiser Chevy was 1/8 of an inch too low in post-race inspection. Mixed reaction in the garage here at Phoenix this weekend. Some think that the 8 crew got away with being a cheat. Others think they just got off cheap.
This is unbelievable.
Well, we've seen the 8 car hasn't needed any help to get by other cars. Look at this move by Junior at the white flag. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won the $1 million bonus here in Talladega.
We proved that there wasn't no fix over in Daytona.
The car number 8 at the end of the race at Talladega, when it was run through the post-race inspection, we found that it was about 1/8 of an inch low on the height of the roof, and we fined the team $25,000.
You look how strong Junior and that team was, and it really at all the restrictor plate races this year, that 1/8 of an inch had nothing to do with him winning that race.
I mean, hell, they won $1 million and put them in $1 million deal for the next race, so, you know, I guess for the penalty, it's what we're doing.
I don't call it cheating. I mean, they make a rule, we go back and try to find a way to make that rule work in our advantage.
If you knew that you could get 1/8 of an inch low and they were only going to slap you with $25,000, wouldn't you do it?
If I knew I'd be as fast as the 8 guy was, I would.
Well, you see the numbers. They are $165,000 plus for the win, over $1 million for the Noble bonus. And if you finish in the top 5 for the Noble race, you get to qualify for the next one, which means he could win $1 million in Las Vegas as well. Take away $25,000. The take home is still over $2.1 million. And Dale Jr. joins me now. Junior, you guys won the race, but your car failed post-race inspection, and yet you still have a potential to win over $2.1 million out of this Winston deal. Is that a fair penalty, only $25,000, to keep guys from doing it again, or should they take away points and perhaps even a win?
No.
No,
definitely not. Well, what would be good is something my crew chief Tony said was to have a tolerance there. There's a tolerance with every rule in the rule book, and there should be a tolerance with that, maybe an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, because the cars are going to settle a little bit. Driving around 500 miles, the springs are going to get beat up and the cars are going to settle a little bit. An 1/8 of an inch is minor compared to what we've seen all year long with our cars. So it's consistent with what they've done with other cars in the past. They had 4 or 5 guys low this year, and they fined all the crew chiefs $25,000. And I'm glad they did the same thing with us and didn't think on it too hard. I really needed the points, and I'm glad we were able to keep those. They could have had the rest of the whole purse for all I'm concerned about it, but I just wanted the points because we really need it for the end of the season.
All right, you keep that win. What about here? You qualified 30th. Can you win here?
We can win anywhere, guard the right circumstances, I think. We just need to do things on pit road, get up front, be competitive. There's going to be some guys that are fast that we race with in practice that I'm going to have a hard time racing with and beating, but you never know what's going to happen until the end of this race, and we just need to, like I said, get up front on pit road, do some things so we don't get lapped early in the race, and we should be fine.
All right, Junior just can't get enough NBC this week. On Monday night, he'll be on The Tonight Show, and Bill, as far as I know, Leno doesn't have post-race inspection.
Thanks, Dave. Benny, NASCAR inspects the car before the race and after the race, and they have to do both.
They have to do both. A lot of fans are wondering, if it goes through in pre-race, why do they bother in post-race? Trust me, folks, if they did not have the post-race inspection, these teams would make springs. They'd somehow make springs that would collapse as the race goes on. And the car wouldn't be 1/8 of an inch low at the end of the race, which is about that much. It would be that much too low. Every car in the field would be dragging the racetrack, and those springs would probably be a lot more expensive than the $25,000.
Teams trying to get every inch or every 1/8 of an inch they can.
Right.
It's another beautiful day here in the desert. Sunny, temperature in the mid-90s. When we come back, the hot tempers and the hot topic of Talladega.
NBC's coverage of NASCAR Winston Cup racing from Phoenix is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. By 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls. And by NASCAR Thunder 2002. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Now, about that restrictor plate racing, that white-knuckle, hold-your-breath to the big one type of racing like we saw last Sunday at Talladega. It has always drawn criticism from the competitors, but last Sunday afternoon, after the checkered flag, after the big one, Words were harsh and aim was sharp. The target, a sanctioning body that appears to be auditioning for a role in The Wizard of Oz. No courage, no brain, no heart. Contact! Bobby Labonte's over! It's the big wreck on the final lap!
They got to separate the cars somehow, but it's up to them. I guess we do what we've done again, Daytona, wreck them all again.
We've already given the product to the fans. They're not going to accept anything less. They want to show like what they saw, I think.
Well, I guess probably the best way for me to put it is if you can't say something nice, better off not to say anything at all. So what else do you want to talk about?
We have ventured into a new era of more safety conscious, more cooperation with the teams and NASCAR and everybody in the sport to make things safer. We can't do those things and then do what we did Sunday. It's contradictory to the overall good of the sport.
When it comes to Talladega, the feeling in the garage is that NASCAR's emphasized excitement over safety, and that must change.
For whatever reason, I think the perception has been created that NASCAR's not listening. And we're listening.
Hopefully we'll do it the way we did the last time when they made the change in the rules, where they get a lot of people's input on it and come up with something that we all agree on. The problem was we came up with something that for Daytona just didn't work at Talladega.
I think NASCAR's got the work cut out. I think what they'll do is they'll make a change that will semi-shut everybody up to some degree, but it really won't be that much better.
And we need to put about a 50-degree spoiler on the back of the car and let us go race. And what that's going to do is it's going to separate the field. What it's also going to do is it's going to make the cars harder to drive. They aren't going to handle as well as they do with all that stuff on the roof and on the spoiler.
Just going back to the original rules, doing a 55 or 60-degree rear spoiler, that won't let the cars draft as tight, but it'll still be a good draft, enough to put on a great show, and the cars won't be so bumper to bumper, and I don't think you see all this blocking going on.
No matter what the rules package is, Bill, the rules package is not going to prevent blocking. It's not going to prevent bump drafting. It's not going to prevent any of those aggressive tools that these guys use on the racetrack. But hopefully, we can come up with a plan that will make it better and safer.
And Bobby Labonte was obviously the focus of last week's wreck on his lid, skidding down the racetrack. And you go home and watch every one of these races. Your thoughts after you saw the wreck? Some guys said there was a lot of blocking going on last week.
Well, I mean, it's restrictor plate racing. I mean, you drive out of the rearview mirror more than the windshield. So, I definitely hate it happened. I mean, last lap deal, trying to stay in front, but just, couldn't. Cars coming up to you that fast. It's do all you can to stay out front, but we didn't do a very good job at it, and probably should just you don't want to just quit, but looking back at it now, I wish we would have done that maybe. But anyway, I finally saw it Wednesday night, so happened.
Bottom line to all this is, what do we do, Bobby?
Well, there's probably a lot of different ways to do it, and just got to make sure we find the right way and talk about it and everything, and get it where you got to let off the gas somewhere throughout the corner and get back on it down the straightaway like we do everywhere else.
All right, he has seen the good and the bad of restrictor plate racing this year in his 4 races, Bill. 2 top 5s, a big wreck at Daytona, and an even bigger wreck last week at Talladega.
Thanks, Marty. Professor, fix it.
Bill, I do a radio show each week, and I've had 2 callers call in with a solution. And folks, I've thought about it, and it makes sense, and it's about the only thing that I know that would work. Bobby Labonte said we've got to back off during the lap. Use the chicane on the backstretch. Throw the restrictor plate away. Let them use that 750 horsepower and 100-mile-per-hour chicane in the backstretch. That'll cure it.
Your answers are chicane.
Exactly.
Okay, Wally Dallenbach is in our air-conditioned booth waiting off stage for the race to begin. Wally, your reaction?
My reaction, instead of having the big wreck on the last lap, we would have it on the first lap if we used a chicane. Super speedway racing is all about great side-by-side racing, and I agree with some of the drivers what they talked about. The only way you're going to separate the cars is make them harder to drive. You make them harder to drive, you won't be in a pack of 43 cars because they're all even and equal. I think NASCAR is doing a great job as far as starting to take some input from the drivers and the teams and work on this thing collectively, but I think the only way you're going to do it is to separate the cars. You got to make them tougher to drive.
Thanks, Wally. Now, in the drivers' meeting this morning, NASCAR announced they will meet with teams before they leave for Rockingham next weekend. a meeting with drivers and crew chiefs to address the restrictor plate situation. A meeting designed to try and keep the excitement, but to try and make that form of racing safer. They will start with a blank piece of paper without regard to the individual design of each manufacturer. Next, when NASCAR and NBC continues, Tony Stewart. Is Tony the Tiger really just a kitty cat? We'll ask him. Welcome back to Phoenix, where one of the keys today will be horsepower. Not exactly that kind. The unique thing about NASCAR Winston Cup racing, 43 teams and 43 stars. No Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson. No Roger Clemens and Derek Jeter. One guy out front all the time. And while they're easily recognized in their costume, away from the track, there's no mask to hide behind.
So when you look at me, you better look hard and look twice. Is that me, baby, or just a grin in disguise?
It's not just that Winston Cup drivers find themselves in the spotlight, but it's the fact they are always on stage that can be the most troubling. Dale Earnhardt earned his Intimidator nickname on the track, an appropriate tag that at times also suited him well off the track. But just as often, Earnhardt displayed the charm of a prince and the playfulness of a child. It's not just about the man. More often, it's about the moment. Through the years, we have seen some of the most popular drivers in the Winston Cup Series erupt with unflattering emotion or simply stomp away in anger. But the true stars have shown their maturity. Winning races and winning fans by knowing the winning formula can sometimes require a mix of horsepower and horseplay. Now, racers know this sport is all about winning. Winners know there's more to it than racing. In a corporate world colored with all shades of gray, Tony Stewart is bright orange, burning with desire and sometimes fuming with frustration. Today, Tony makes his 100th career start in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. And as we get closer to Halloween, we thought this would be a good time to show you there are two sides to Tony Stewart. He is a person and a racer that literally has gone from the frying pan into the fire.
So this is where it kind of all started?
It didn't all start here, but I spent about 2 years of my life here working.
Was he a good worker?
Yes, he was. When he showed up.
Who is the real Tony Stewart? Is he the outspoken, hot-headed driver famous for throwing fits in the garage? Or is he just the big kid next door who likes to have some fun? Fans rarely see how their favorite driver acts once the camera is turned off. The countless hours of charity work, that special hug or autograph. And few fans ever get a glimpse into the childhood of their heroes. Tony Stewart was born to race.
Did you drive the John Deere tractor through the garage?
I didn't go through the garage.
But you almost did.
Well, it wasn't my fault.
He was about 2 years old, maybe just a little over 2 years old. He couldn't reach anything but steering wheel, so I'd start it up and I'd put it in low gear and just about half throttle, and he'd ride it all over the backyard.
I got in trouble because I drove it out to the street first, which I was told not to do, which that was my fault.
So I go running out there and jump all over him, tell him to put it in the garage.
When I got to the garage, I didn't know how to stop it.
He got about a foot from the wall, and he was just screaming bloody murder, and I ran in there real quick and shut it off, and he stopped just about 6 or 8 inches from the wall. And he didn't head for the street anymore.
This is the Bartholomew County Fairgrounds. This is the place where I started my racing career. The kids I raced with on Saturday night were the same kids that I rode bikes with and played baseball with, so it was a lot of fun back then.
You smile when you talk about those times.
It was a lot less complicated than it is these days.
I bet.
The day that I thought my go-kart career had really started to kick into high gear was the first time we ever left the fairgrounds, and we went to Oskaloosa, Iowa to race the Grand Nationals and won, and came back to town, and the first time we came back to the Dairy Queen, that sign behind us had Tony Stewart 1983 IKF Grand National Champion on it. So I thought I was the Mac Daddy then.
That's big.
That was big time for here.
You know the amazing part about it? He still knows me. And he still comes in.
I keep trying to get a free shake every time.
And he still comes in here when he's in town.
Those who know Stewart best claim he's misunderstood. While his tirades have captured national attention, they say Tony's random acts of kindness go unnoticed.
I do see a lot of the good things that he does. I see the
the involvement with Make-A-Wish Foundation. I see the involvement, kids especially, loves the kids. And he does have a good heart. He comes across as kind of abrupt and kind of cocky, kind of hateful sometimes. But all in all, if somebody needs anything, he's there.
A father and son had come to attend the Winston, and the reason they were there was this was the reward for doing good work at school. They came up to Tony and wanted an autograph, but Tony was just getting ready to be introduced and had to get into a truck to be taken around the track. And Tony looked at the kid and said, "You want to ride with me?" What a thrill for a young man who really only came just to maybe get an autograph. That's Tony. That's the Tony Stewart we'd like for people to know.
Some people have never seen that Tony story.
There's many, many people that haven't seen that Tony Stewart, and that's a real shame.
And it's a pleasure to be joined by Tony Stewart. And Tony, your fans, do they love both Tony Stewarts? Do they have to love both Tony Stewarts? The aggressive guy on the track and the soft-hearted guy?
I don't know, but watching that, my parents are going to ruin my bad reputation if they keep talking about me like that. It's, you know, this sport's hard. I mean, I think our fans and the ones that really pull for us week in and week out are the ones that like the honesty that I show. And, you know, this sport is so political these days, and you have to say the right things and do the right things all the time that so much of each driver's individual personality is getting lost these days. And I think the people that pull for us and pull for the Home Depot team are people that see that and respect the fact that we are honest and open about our emotions, and you know, we speak honestly and openly. So you know, whether you like that or not, that's why there's 43 guys out here each week, and you can pull for whoever you want, and we hope you pull for us. But you know, I am who I am, and you know, you can't change people, but I think along the way people grow up and they learn a lot of different things about our sport, and you learn why people do what they do, and you know, just situations and circumstances happen that make you sit back and think about life and you know, how you want to approach it from now on.
Are you learning too then?
Absolutely. I mean, the hardest thing is that when I joined the Winston Cup Series, there was no manual or instructional video to show you what you're going to experience as a Winston Cup driver, and I think the amount of success that we had early was a little more overwhelming than I thought it would be, and it was harder for me to get used to than some other guys. But you know, everybody thinks that Jeff Gordon and I are huge rivals, and I probably respect him more than any other driver in the circuit, and I learn a lot from him, watching how he deals with the fans and the sponsors and all the pressures that he has out here. So you know, you have a lot of good people down here, and there's a lot of people around us that are supportive and that teach you as you go, but it's not something that you just learn overnight, that's for sure.
A lot has been made about the head and neck restraint system. You had to wear it last week. Obviously, you have to wear it every time you race. Have you come to accept that?
I don't have any choice. You know, I think the media pushed NASCAR into doing it, but I'm still disappointed in NASCAR. You know, to make an announcement on Wednesday and expect you to be ready on Friday to wear a device like that is put us in a really bad position. And the one thing that I want everybody to understand is that I'm not against head and neck restraints. I'm all in favor of it, but only having 2 devices to choose from, those 2 devices have been good for everybody but me so far, and it's not saying that I don't want to wear one. I just haven't found the one that's right for me yet. And you know, we're still working on our device right now, and there's a lot of other people I'm sure that are looking into making devices, but you know, the guys on the team, they've done a great job of doing everything they can to make me as comfortable in it as possible, but to get that comfort, we've pretty much had to make the device not do its job if we do have a bad accident. So it's just kind of on there, as you know, just it's a decoration basically. It just hangs on there. So you know, we'll figure out how to make it work, and each time that we run it, I'm getting a little more comfortable with it, but I'm still extremely uncomfortable on the car with it. Okay, how about downhill skiing in that car? Is that it's tricky. It's tricky. It doesn't corner near as good. It doesn't have the sharp edges on the side to carve with, but the commercial was pretty fun that NBC did. So you know, there's a lot of fun things and a lot of positive things in our sport, and I think it gets overshadowed a lot of times by small bits of controversy that seem to overshadow the good things that we all do in this sport. Thanks. Not just me, but everybody. Thanks for coming up. Best of luck today. Thank you.
All right, Tony Stewart looking for a win here at Phoenix. NASCAR on NBC will continue right after this timeout. NBC Sports presents NASCAR. Today, it's the Winston Cup Series live from the 1 Mile track in Phoenix, Arizona. The stories are on pit road, beginning with Dave Burns.
Casey Atwood is 21 years old. This is his 34th Winston Cup start, and he is on the pole today. He hopes that he can stay up front, though, in his first top 5 starts this year. His average finish is 32nd. He has to do a lot better today in his Dodge.
Well, Dave Rusty Wallace is not in a Dodge. He, of course, carries the Ford banner. And the last time this Ford ran was at Kansas, where he led 114 laps, more than anyone. Problem was, the car was not only fast on the racetrack, it was also a little too fast on pit road, and the penalty left him with a 4th place finish. In fact, Rusty may not want to lead the most laps today, because the last 3 times he's done that, he's failed to win the race. To Matt Yoakum.
Marty, Ricky Craven enters Phoenix with renewed confidence and plenty of motivation. He won the last flat track race of the year at Martinsville. Today he starts 9th, but the biggest concern for the 32 team as they enter the 32nd race is brakes. They battled a braking problem all Saturday in practice. They think they have it fixed, but Bill, they won't know until the green flag drops.
Thanks, Matt. The heat is on for all 43 drivers. The hottest temperature ever recorded in the state of Arizona, 127 degrees. That was back in 1905. Now here are 3 guys that know all about surviving in the desert. All they need is plenty of water, an air-conditioned suite, and a big screen TV. Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons, and Wally Dallenbach.
Well, Bill, there may be an air conditioner in this booth, but this booth is not air-conditioned today. Let me tell you, it is hot here in Phoenix. And, Benny, that heat could have a big effect on today's race.
I think it will, Alan. I think a lot of guys are just not ready for this kind of heat in late October. This is June, July weather. And some of the guys will be falling out of that seat. And really and truly, the chassis setup they thought they had yesterday is not going to work for 312 miles in this heat.
This mile oval is somewhat oddly shaped. It's got a kink in the backstretch. Turns 1 and 2 shaped very differently than turns 3 and 4. Throw the heat on top of that, Wally, and the degree of difficulty today is pretty high.
Yeah, you have to compromise on setups here, because turns 1 and 2 are banked and you have a lot of room. 3 and 4 is very flat and very tight. Normally the cars used to get tight here, but after watching the Busch race yesterday, the cars were very, very loose and there was a lot of problems with grip. So these guys are going to be looking for grip all day long. With that heat, Alan, it's even going to be tougher.
So we've got some pit strategy to factor in there as well. Do you take 2 tires when you're looking for that grip? Maybe, maybe not. It's going to be an interesting afternoon of competition here at Phoenix. Jeff Gordon, the championship leader, trying to lock up his title in this race. Right now, before the command to start engines, we go trackside for today's opening ceremony.
And with our invocation today, PIR Chaplain Ken Bowers.
First of all, Mr. President, we are trying our best to have a normal weekend here at Phoenix International Raceway. And now let's pray. Heavenly Father, during this past year, as a people, as a nation, and as a motorsports family, we have witnessed the unbelievable. But through it all, you've drawn us together to each other and closer to you. And now this afternoon, we ask that we would have a day of safe racing. We would enjoy ourselves while some are at labor and all of us are at leisure. We thank you for all of your blessings. And everyone said, Amen. God bless America.
Currently touring with flamenco guitarist Esteban and recently toured with the rock group Tower of Power, performing our national anthem. We now welcome you to experience the awesome power of trumpeter Jesse McGuire. President of Lubricants for Pennzoil Quaker State, Mr. Doug Boyle.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Some 100,000 fans are soaking up the Arizona sun, waiting the start of today's NASCAR Winston Cup action in Phoenix. NBC's coverage of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series from Phoenix is brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices. Always. By Sprint PCS, the clear alternative to cellular. By NASCAR Thunder 2002. EA Sports, it's in the game. And by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR.
Hey, I'm Sammy Hagar.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. for Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and the proud sponsor of the Bud Pole Award.
On the pole here at Phoenix, Casey Atwood with a speed of 131 miles an hour, his first Bud Pole Award in Winston Cup.
Since 1979, Anheuser-Busch has awarded more than $7 million as the title sponsor of NASCAR's Pole Awards program. And now the Walmart starting grid for today's Phoenix race. Casey Atwood, sixth first-time pole winner in 2001, with John Andretti on the front row seeking his first win in over 2 years. Jeff Burton, the defending winner of this race, led 105 of the 312 laps last year. He's in row 2 with the 98 winner of the race, Rusty Wallace.
On the inside of row 3, Robert Pesley, his best super speedway start of the year. And Bill Elliott won here in 1989. Kenny Walsh on the inside of row 4 alongside Ron Hornaday.
Martinsville winner Ricky Craven goes in row 5 with Ken Schrader running his 4th race in 4 days here. The Bodine brothers, Todd and Brett, share row number 6. Todd's best finish here and 11th. Brett, one of 9 drivers who've run every Winston Cup race here.
On the inside of row 7, Johnny Benson. He's finished in the top 10 twice here in 5 races. And Jeff Gordon trying to win that championship on the outside. Back in row 8, Stacy Compton, last week's pole winner, and Dale Jarrett. He was a 97 winner here.
Bobby Hamilton, a former winner here, goes from row number 9. He's alongside last year's Winston Cup champion, Bobby Labonte, in Joe Gibbs' Pontiac. The 10th row, Buckshot Jones and Dave Blaney in Bill Davis's Dodge. Finished 8th here last year, did Blaney.
On the inside of row 11, Ricky Rudd. He was a 95 winner, and last year had the best car, crashed late in the race. Tony Stewart on the outside, 99 winner. On the inside of row 12, Terry Labonte and Mike Wallace.
13th row, Ryan Newman, who made his Winston Cup debut here in this race a year ago, and Michael Waltrip with a couple of Phoenix top 10s in his record. Rick Mast takes a new ride this week in Junie Donlevy's Ford. He's in row 14 with Kyle Petty, who's run very well in all the practices this weekend.
On the inside of row 15, Mark Martin. He has more top 5s and top 10s than anyone at Phoenix. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., last week's Talladega win on the outside. On the inside of 16, Sterling Marlin and Jimmy Spencer on the outside.
17th row, Ward Burton and Joe Nemechek. Ward still looking for his first Phoenix top 10 ever. Nemechek finishing 8th at Talladega last week. In the 18th row, it's Kevin LePage, who had a top 10 at Talladega last Sunday, and Jason Leffler.
On the inside of the 19th row, Kevin Harvick. He has 2 wins this season, NASCAR Winston Cup, and was second best in happy hour. Matt Kenseth alongside. In row 20 on the inside, Elliott Sadler and Jerry Nadeau on the outside.
Final 3 starters in the field. Kurt Busch with 3 top 5s in his record book this season, and Robbie Gordon still auditioning for Richard Childress. Bobby Hamilton Jr. rounds out the field in that Kodak car. Only one driver failed to qualify, local driver Rick Bogart, unable to make the field. And we're a couple of laps away from the start. Let's get some reports from pit road. Here's Matt Yoakum.
Alan, while John Andretti starts in the front row, his teammate Kyle Petty rolls off 28. He has a new crew chief this week, but their biggest concern is not gelling, it's fuel mileage. Polling a number of crew chiefs, the average Winston Cup team here can go about 90 laps. The 45, 78 to 80. So they're hoping we don't see a lot of long green flag runs today. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, in Bill Elliott's first 3 starts here at Phoenix, he had 3 top 5 finishes. Since then, only 1 top 10. Bill is, of course, 45 years young, and I asked him if his young teammate, 21-year-old Casey Atwood, beating him out for the pole, made him mad at all. And he said, no, I know this, though. Casey's a lot more nervous right now than I am. Today, Burns.
And Marty, Robert Presley makes his 200th career start of the Winston Cup Series today. What a great career it's been for him. But next year he doesn't have a ride yet, so he went back to the past. His crew chief in 1995 and 96, his first 2 years in Winston Cup, was Andy Petrie. They're working on something. They might be able to get something together for next year. But today, Robert hopes he can impress at Phoenix. Alan.
Thank you, Dave. Robert Presley with a good qualifying run. We'll keep an eye on that 77 car this afternoon. And let's talk about that Casey Atwood for a minute. First time on the pole in a Winston Cup race. How nervous do you think he is? And how much would that concern the drivers around him barreling off into turn 1?
Well, I think the key is 21 years old. And he just 34 starts in NASCAR Winston Cup. I think he's extremely nervous.
But as far as the other drivers, I don't think they're really concerned because Casey's really been a heads-up driver all year long. Doesn't go out and do stupid things, so I think everybody's going to be real comfortable where he starts.
5 races to go in the season. So much at stake for so many people. Drivers needing rides for next year, teams needing sponsors, even well-established teams who haven't been to victory lane yet this year. Their time's running out in 2001. Their chance comes at Phoenix today, one of a few remaining in this season. 312 laps today. This is a 500-kilometer race, 1-mile track, 312 miles to make that distance, and I didn't even have to figure that one up, Walt.
You spent all night figuring that out.
No, they wrote it down for him.
They wrote it down. It's been that way for 14 years, okay? Casey Atwood and John Andretti in a couple of Dodges on the front row. The Fords of Jeff Burton and Rusty Wallace in row number 2. And we're looking at the 90 car of Rick Mast, Dave.
And Alan, they just had to come down pit road because Rick couldn't get the gas pedal all the way to the floor. A heat mat was underneath. They pulled it back. He's okay.
We're underway at Phoenix.
Casey Atwood did a very wise thing. He decided to be the hound instead of the rabbit in this situation, and I think that was smart.
John Andretti leads lap 1. Atwood is second. Racing for third, Jeff Burton and Rusty Wallace still side by side.
Here comes Casey Atwood. Maybe I was wrong. Looked like he was trying to take over that top spot.
Maybe he just took it a little easy into turn 1, and John used his veteran experience to out-drag race it. It's Atwood pressuring Andretti for the lead as they come to the stripe and start lap 3. Finally clearing Jeff Burton for third and using the outside lane to do it.
I am very, very impressed that Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott both used the outside line to get by Jeff Burton.
This is Ron Hornaday in the Conseco car, running 6th.
Well, this is the best these cars are going to feel on tires right now. From about lap 3 to about lap 10 are the best they're going to be. Then they're going to start sliding. Then you'll start seeing really who's got the best chassis set up from about 15 laps on.
See, Burton moved up and tried that high line in 1 and 2 that time. Not in that corner, though. Here he is. He's got the run on Bill Elliott. Trying to get 4th spot back.
And he does. Now that all these cars in line, we can see if Jeff Burton can run down Rusty Wallace. Talk in the garage here this morning, the 99 car. Very, very good race car on race setup.
So it's Burton 4th, Elliott 5th, Hornaday 6th, then Kenny Wallace is 7th, Robert Presley 8th, Brett Bodine is 9th, and Ken Schrader is 10th. Ron Hornaday with so much experience and a lot of success here at Phoenix, hoping one of those drivers I mentioned a minute ago that needs good things to happen. Could this be his day for a top finish at Phoenix? NASCAR on NBC bringing you the Checker Auto Parts 500 presented by Pennzoil from the Phoenix International Raceway. Casey Atwood is the leader, 11, about to be 12 laps in to the 312-lap race. John Andretti is second, Rusty Wallace third, Jeff Burton fourth, and Bill Elliott rounds out the top 5. Dale Jarrett is falling back. Jarrett started in 16th place. Last time across the start-finish line, he was in 29th. Dave, what's going on?
Well, the fact that he's running the high line, Alan, is probably the only good thing for him. He has to run up there right now because his car is extremely tight. He cannot hold it down to the bottom. It wants to push up out of the groove every time he does. So he'll probably stay in that high line just to try to get the most speed out of it he can.
He's got to be hoping he stays on the lead lap at this pace.
Dave Burns used the word tight, and we'll be using that word a great deal today, tight and loose. Let's explain to you, go inside our virtual garage and explain to you what we're talking about when we say tight. Race car goes down in the corner, the third line on the bottom of the speedway. All of a sudden the car just will not turn. It just starts going straight up the racetrack. And when we say tight, that's a little bit exaggerated, but that's what we're talking about.
And the only way to fix that on the racetrack
is to move around, is to try to find a different line around the speedway.
The problem is you can't run the bottom line because you can't stay on the bottom line. So all these cars that are handling better, they're going to be on the bottom, so he's got no chance of getting back down there.
He was 29th 2 laps ago. Dale Jarrett back to 36th and hoping for a caution flag soon.
If the caution flag should come out, there's no question that he would go in the pits and do something to the car to try to make it a little bit better.
So the 97 winner of this race in trouble early, though I remember the year that he won that race, he had a flat tire, I believe it was, fell a lap down. They never had another caution the rest of the race. He made the full lap up, came all the way back through the field, and won the race.
Rusty Wallace started to put a little bit of pressure on the 43 car of John Andretti.
This is for second place. Rusty Wallace, the 98 winner of this race, has led 9 of the previous 13 races here at Phoenix, but has not had good luck in getting finishes. He's finished outside the top 10 in 7 of 13 here.
This part of the corner, right when you're getting off of turn 2 here, right where these guys are right here, this is the most frustrating part for a driver because you're not geared enough to really pull off the corner. Because when you get to right here, you're at maximum RPMs. So you can't use any more gear. So, boy, it's frustrating getting off of 2 there. You just want to downshift to get off that corner better, but you can't.
I've heard so many drivers talk about that, Wally, the fact that maybe it would be faster here if they did downshift in this corner. And I wouldn't be surprised if down the road a year or so that some of the teams might try that.
I think it probably would work. You'd be a little bit more busy out there, but it would definitely shoot you off the corner better.
While we're watching this race for second, behind them, Kenny Wallace has taken 6th away from Ron Hornaday.
Let's go inside with Rusty Wallace and we'll show you how the driver uses the brakes. He takes his foot off the brake. There he goes down that little bit of pump to reassure himself that he does have a brake. Goes in the corner. Now then, back on the accelerator. Pumping that gas. Feeling the rear end of the car and trying to keep the rear end intact. Grip the throttle.
And sometimes you have to pump that brake because sometimes, probably not this early, but when the brakes get hot, you get air in the fluid, and you have to pump it. And there's another reason for that too. When the rotors will move the brake pads back, so when you pump it, it brings those pads to the rotor, and that's what makes the pedal hard. So sometimes it's a safety pump, but it's also when you pump it that first time, there's nothing there.
That's the clutch pedal. And I hope that Rusty has a lot of play in the clutch pedal, because when he takes his foot off the brake, he's accidentally laying it on the clutch. And if that throwout bearing that goes against the pressure plate, if it stays down there too much, he'll wear that bearing out.
Right, but like you said, hopefully they'll have about a quarter to half-inch of play in that pedal before it actually engages the clutch.
Well, he doesn't feather that gas pedal either. When it's time to put it down, it goes right to the floor.
But that will change, believe me. In about another 25 or 30 laps, you'll see him going a lot slower down on that pedal, because the grip from the tires will be gone. The track is going to be slippery, and he'll start feeling that gas, and he'll start feeding that throttle down to the floor a lot slower.
As you can see by watching Rusty Wallace's feet, Phoenix is a racetrack that brakes are very, very important. They use a tremendous amount of brake pedal, getting these cars slowed down to go in turn 1 and turn 3.
You know what, Benny? This morning I saw a lot of differences in cars on their noses as far as openings go. There's some cars that had a lot of opening for the brakes, and there's some cars that didn't. Having that opening is going to hurt your downforce. The more opening you put on the front of the car, the less stick you have on the nose. So it's going to be interesting to see if that plays out.
Let's go on board with Joe Nemechek and see if we can see in the brake rotors. There we see the Oakwoods Home Chevrolet. And we've installed the camera. We can just watch those brakes and see how hot they're getting as he goes down in the corner. We can see the brake rotor as he goes down and applies the brake pedal. They turn red. But unlike Martinsville, where they stay red all the way around the racetrack, they only glow when the driver, when Nemechek is applying the brakes when he goes into the corner. He's not using a lot of brakes.
No, he's not.
Joe Nemechek, he's car number 33, and that's the position he's running in right now, 33rd.
There. Ward Burton also involved in that race.
Okay, see the opening on the nose right here? Let me show you. All this down right on the bottom of the valence here. It's hard to see it behind. Right in there. That's all the cooling for the brakes. And there's a lot of opening there. They've got a lot of tape off that car. They're trying to get the maximum air in the front of that car to get the brakes. They have some tape in the center, some on the top, but they actually have some tape they can take off.
So Nemechek running back in 33rd place. Casey Atwood is the leader here in Phoenix. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Check of our Wendy's race menu, the upcoming action on TNT and NBC. Next weekend it's Rockingham, 12:30 Eastern time. That one's on TNT. Then we move on to wrap up the season in Homestead, Atlanta, and Loudon. You can see all of those events on NBC.
And Bobby Hamilton has made contact with the outside retaining wall. Or has he? I know he's the right front tire is flat.
Caution's out.
In the whole right side.
And the report is he did bounce off the wall.
Clear low, Bobby, clear low.
Not sure if he got the flat after he hit the wall or before.
Definitely right front, all the right side.
So the first yellow comes out at lap 33, and let's take a look at what happened to Bobby Hamilton.
And something looks like he cut a right front tire down, looks like to me. Because that valence was right on the ground.
The question is asked and answered. He definitely made contact with the outside wall and trying to get back to the pit area. And the 40 car, he's made contact with the wall as well. Someone lost an engine up there, I believe, and they got the fluid and went straight in the wall, both the 55 and 40.
And here come the leaders to pit road. Everybody's coming in at lap number 34. Marlin and Hamilton's crews with big problems to deal with.
And Schrader's got a flat right front tire.
Something's gone wrong here. Everybody's run over a piece of debris.
Yeah, I can't believe that's off from one motor.
No.
Dave Burns.
Jeff Burton gives up 4th place. He was a little bit loose. They are going to make both a chassis adjustment and an air pressure adjustment to try to correct the car for Jeff. Let's go to Marty.
Rusty Wallace is here running 2nd. Dave, very happy with the chassis right now. It will be no adjustments in 4 tires for Rusty Wallace. Casey Atwood has done a terrific job thus far, and they will win the race off pit road. They made a track bar adjustment. He was a little loose. They went down 1 round. To Matt Yoakum.
Kenny Schrader came in and took on right side tires because that right front tire was shredded. Ricky Craven took on 4. They made a track bar adjustment. He was tight in the center.
And the race off the pit lane, indeed won by Casey Atwood. John Andretti comes out 2nd. Rusty Wallace 3rd. And let's go back and take a look at how they came through that scoring line at the end of the pit lane.
There we see Atwood going across the white line. That means he's out first. John Andretti, here he comes. Rusty Wallace just barely beats Jeff Burton out.
So Atwood's crew holds on to the top spot. You're watching NASCAR on TNT on NBC. Back at the Phoenix International Raceway under caution for the first time, 3 drivers with right front tires flat on the same lap. Bobby Hamilton, Sterling Marlin, and Ken Schrader.
This is a... Listen. Hear the tire go flat? And when that happens, that's the end result. The car just will not turn. Sterling Marlin, listen to him as he goes. There we see Hamilton going in the wall. Sterling Marlin goes down the front. Listen to him when he gets down to turn 1. Hear it? Yep. About the time he backed off. Whoever, what's going on down there?
Well, it's a mystery down here. In fact, Sterling Marlin and Tony Glover talking it over on the radio. Sterling was asked if he thought he ran over something. He said everything felt fine. The car was fine coming out of 4. He got out of the gas to take the caution. All of a sudden, the car just wouldn't turn, and the tire went down. So it's a mystery. They're talking back and forth. They asked him if he thought the toe was okay. He said the wheel is still square. So it's a mystery to these guys, but certainly one they hope to solve in a hurry because the speeds here at Phoenix are pretty fast, Matt.
Newmore is Kenny Schrader's crew chief. Newt, did he run through some debris and cut it down?
He run over something. When the 55 cut her tire down, he run over something. I got to go green here.
I spoke with a number of Goodyear engineers who were down here. They too looked at it and said there was a cut from some debris.
On the 36 car. What in the... This is unbelievable.
That was weird.
What lap was that? About 35?
33, yep.
So we're going to have to start paying attention to lap 33 from now.
Schrader stayed on the lead lap. In fact, he's up in 9th place. Marlin lost a lap. He's in 42nd. Bobby Hamilton lost 2 laps. He's in 43rd.
You know, we've been talking about pit strategy and what teams would do, and most racetracks after 34 miles, we've seen it stay on the racetrack. But it looks like today, every time they get a chance, they're going to dive in and change tires.
Especially right now, it's gone up and down pit road that we got 2 cars with blown right front tires. So that's going to be a concern for these guys now, especially on where they start on air pressures. They got to be very careful they don't let these air pressures down too low and get too much heat in those tires and have a problem with that right front.
Bill Elliott was among the top 10 at the caution flag. But Marty, he's back in 37th. What happened?
Yeah, in fact, Alan, he was running 5th when he came down pit road and under caution. He said it felt like they did not get all of the lug nuts tight on the left side. They came back down just to make sure, tighten up all the lug nuts, and he is fine, but has clearly lost a lot of track position.
Casey Atwood leads. This is the race for 2nd. John Andretti and Rusty Wallace along with Jeff Burton.
Well, the way Rusty was reeling these guys in before this pit stop, I would suspect he's going to get around the 43 car here fairly quickly.
Might have to deal with Jeff Burton first.
Yeah, if the 99 doesn't get by him first. Now he's going to try to do to Rusty exactly what Rusty Wallace did to him at the beginning of the race and pass him on the outside, and he does it.
And just behind them, joining the fray here, the point leader, Jeff Gordon.
Well, he must have had a terrific pit stop. He was running about 9th or 10th, wasn't he?
Started 14th, he's up to 5th. Kenny Wallace is 6th, Ron Hornaday 7th, Johnny Benson 8th, Tony Stewart is 9th, and Ken Schrader holds down the 10th spot. Winston showed you his problems earlier. Dave Burns has more for us. Dave?
Well, and his tire is so shredded, Alan, you really can't tell if he did run over something. And, of course, Bobby was trying to figure it out, too. He said, you ought to ask the 40 car what he saw. And I guess Sterling doesn't really know either.
Well, we had a camera on board his car, and we didn't see anything, but we sure heard it.
55 car's in for a long ride because that's all he's going to be doing today.
He and Sterling both are riding back there, and you're right. As hot as it is, all they can do is just ride around for 300 miles and not try to race with anyone. What a miserable day they're facing.
See the gap from Casey Atwood, the leader, back to that race for second. Atwood in his first NASCAR Winston Cup start ever here at Phoenix. He's out in front early. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. A lot of anticipation over Michael Jordan's return to regular NBA action.
What's that got to do with Conseco?
Well, I was about to ask Wally. He asked about getting into fantasy basketball camp with Michael, and it never quite worked out.
I didn't hear anything about basketball camp or Michael Jordan. I just heard fantasy.
Log on to NASCAR.com now and check out the Conseco NASCAR Fantasy Challenge. Pick your own team of drivers and see how you match up against other fantasy teams. If you log on today, you might just win a replica of the number 14 Conseco Winston Cup Pontiac. And I know that anytime Wally hears the word fantasy, his attention level rises. Looking down on Phoenix International Raceway from our U.S. Army Skycam, an army of one.
It looks like Rusty Wallace, a 2-car. After he runs about 5 or 6 laps, that thing really starts working well.
Yeah, I said earlier we were trying to, he was faster as it went along. Now he's finally going to get around 43 car, but he was chasing down Casey Atwood right before that yellow. He was catching him quick.
During the commercial break, Rusty taking third spot away from Jeff Burton to get in position to challenge John Andretti here for second. Marty Snyder.
Well, and guys, you know the scary part is that Rusty was much better in the afternoon practice yesterday than he was in the morning practice. So they think that when this race comes to an end, when the track is very slick and hot, they think they're going to be even better at that point. And I asked Robin Pemberton this morning, he got a third-place car, so he said, yeah, we're about third or fifth-place car right now. But if we run good early in the race, I will be very encouraged about the possibility of a win.
But if you can see, Rusty in 1 and 2 is working that car right on the bottom, and those guys have a lot of motor, and they turn their motors, which is helping him also get off of turn 2, so he's got a little bit of an advantage there. His car looks really strong right now.
Let's go up over to Rusty Wallace. He talks about turning the engine RPMs. Let's see what we're talking about. As he goes down the back, 82, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 9,100 RPM.
That's a lot.
Let's watch down the front stretch. I don't think he'll turn quite as many down the front stretch. I'll watch the RPM. You watch the...
Yeah, he got to 89.
Got to 89.
Yep.
All right, let's watch the mile per hour down the back stretch, the fastest part of the racetrack. See what kind of mile per hour he might be getting up to. 140, 157.
And he got to 9,000 on the RPMs that time.
157 miles per hour. That's about the spot that Bobby Hamilton's right front tire said, poof, on all the air left.
Kevin Harvick gained a lot of ground on his on his pit stop. Threw a little strategy, but it does not look like it is working out, Bill.
Sure isn't, Alan. They took 2 right side tires and fuel under the caution and did pick up a number of spots, but they're giving them back in a hurry. In fact, on lap 55, Kevin radioed in, this car is not anything like it was. It's very tough to drive right now, so he may be out there for a long time, or they may have to pit under the green unless they can get lucky and get a caution. He could be in for a long afternoon.
And every other crew chief up and down pit road is making note of the fact that the 29 car took 2 tires and it is not working out. This, like you said before, this may be one of those days where every opportunity they get, teams may be throwing 4 fresh tires at their cars.
Exactly.
Rusty Wallace pressuring John Andretti for the second spot. As much as Rusty has been up front and led races this year, It really seems kind of amazing that he's only been to victory lane one time. We talked with Rusty earlier this weekend about when he's going to get another checkered flag.
But we're second laps led this year. We've led a lot of laps. We've won the California 500, which was, if you're going to win a race, that was a big one to win. And we got close many, many times. And trust me, I haven't gave up. We all know how to win, but man, I'll tell you what, this sport is tough now. And we'll get some, I believe we'll get another one before the year's out.
California reference, the California Speedway was founded by Roger Penske, the owner of Rusty's car. That's why that one was an especially sweet victory for him.
All right, Casey Atwood's worst nightmare just took place. Rusty Wallace moved into second spot by John Andretti, and he has been on their monitor. Rusty has been faster than Atwood the last few laps.
Yeah, bud, just take care of your equipment now.
And he was that lap.
Boy, that car looks so good through 1 and 2.
So Rusty second, John Andretti third. Jeff Burton still runs fourth, and Jeff Gordon fifth. And behind them, a little gap back to the sixth place car of Kenny Wallace. Johnny Benson, Tony Stewart, Mike Wallace, and Ron Hornaday now rounding out the top 10.
As we see the top 10 in speeds this time, Rusty Wallace, obviously the quickest of the top 10. Now, it was bad enough for Bobby Hamilton to have to ride around the racetrack and not race anyone. Now he's got to ride around a racetrack and get out everybody's way.
Yeah, he's got to look out the mirror now as much as he's looking out of the windshield just to try to stay out of the way, like you said, Benny. And no fun for a race car driver.
Last lap by Rusty Wallace was 0.3 of a second quicker than Casey Atwood. He's closing quick. Look at how fast Jeff Gordon leads Bobby Hamilton.
Yeah, but Bobby Hamilton's got to have a severe push in that car because he's got no right front fender. So as far as downforce goes in the front, forget it.
There goes Kenny Wallace, sixth place car. Johnny Benson. And Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart has moved up quickly. Started 22nd.
Look how fast Rusty has topped the 19 car.
And behind them,
Jeff Gordon goes on the inside of the 99 car. Takes third, fourth spot away from the 99 of Burton.
Jeff Gordon has never won here at Phoenix. We heard in our pre-race show. Said he'd like for today to be the day. Not racing conservatively, protecting his championship lead, nor does he have to. 395 points, 5 races to go. He could be the first one out of the next 2 races and still have the lead.
All right, here we go for the lead. Benny made it look easy, didn't he?
Well, I'm sure Casey just let off the gas and tucked in behind him here. He knew he had a faster car, and that was smart on his part. He runs
clear all around. Lap car in front of you.
So Rusty Wallace, the third different driver to lead this one. Let's talk about Casey Atwood for a minute. Marty?
Yeah, that move over came through a lot of preaching from Ray Evernham, as you would imagine. Preaching patience, telling him just take it easy. Rusty is clearly faster than you. Your car is still loose. Let him go when he comes by you. These guys just need to finish today. They have not finished better than 24th since Dover. And they're very aware of the fact that there have been 5 first-time pole winners this year in NASCAR Winston Cup Series racing. And their finishes 43rd, 43rd, 39th, 42nd, and 28th. These guys just want to bring it home today.
Rusty Wallace, the new leader here at Phoenix. The leaderboard. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. It's happening again. 2 more cars have lost right front tires. We're under caution for the second time at Phoenix.
We definitely have an issue here with right front tires. So we've run about the same amount of laps as we did earlier, and we've had 2 cars within a lap that's cut a right front tire has gone down.
This is Kenny Wallace moments ago during the commercial break. Joe Nemechek, same problem.
And the problem is in Kenny Wallace trying to get back to the pits that these flat tires trying to tear the right front fender off the car.
And all your cooling and everything else that's in front of the wheels or behind the wheels, lines and everything.
Kenny was running 6th at the time. And here's a look. He just slowed off of turn 4.
And he goes down to turn 1, and guess what? It will not stop.
And when those tires go down, at least he kept it off the wall, which was that's tough to do.
he knew something was coming there to slow it down that much.
33 car cuts a tire, and he actually did it in a pretty good spot, if there is a good spot, and that was in the middle of the corner instead of getting down into the corner.
And everyone is on pit road again. By the way, Kyle Petty has just taken his car to the garage. We'll get a report there in a moment. Matt?
Johnny Benson hits his pit stall. They're going to take one roundabout out. His car was tight in the center of the corner to Dave.
Jeff Burton is in. They make a chassis adjustment as well. The wrench has already gone in on the left side. They make a right side chassis adjustment as well. 4 tires. Marty.
Rusty Wallace, the leader, is in. Dave, the car just a little bit loose. Half pound in the right front. The 98 winner here, Wallace, wants to win the race off pit road, and he will do that. Whoa, very close race between he and Casey Atwood. Casey is also a little bit loose, and air pressure adjustment for those guys as well.
VP, what I'm seeing right now, I think I'd want to keep my car on the loose side to keep that right front tire cool as possible.
Let's check the scoring line at the end of pit road. Marty said it was close.
Rusty Wallace goes by. Casey Atwood goes by. He beat him by about a car length.
Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton, John Andretti, and Tony Stewart, the top 6 off the pit lane. We're under caution for the second time at Phoenix. NBC's coverage of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series from Phoenix is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Miller Lite. Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time. By the Home Depot, the official home improvement warehouse of NASCAR. And by Conseco. Step up. Story of the day right now here at Phoenix International Raceway. 2 caution flags, about 30 laps of green flag racing apart. And right now, 5 different cars that suffered flat right front tires.
Yeah, this is not looking good at all.
30 laps, 3 cars got flat right fronts. Another 30 laps, 2 more cars got flat right fronts.
And if you're lucky enough to keep it off the wall when you blow a right front tire, you're in the hopes that the tire, as it's coming off the wheel, doesn't take your fender off.
Talking about the shredding tire beating all the suspension and the cooling and the fender well and so on. This is under Joe Nemechek's car after his problem a minute ago.
As he's trying to get the car to pit road, we can see that the rim is dragging the racetrack. But he really didn't tear his car up that badly. Now they've got to raise the car, try to lift the car up so they can get the jack under it. And finally,
and he was lucky that tire didn't shred off there.
Nemechek has been on pit road a couple of times. He is not on the lead lap anymore. He's back in 41st position. And he's going to be 3 laps down to leader Rusty Wallace.
I bet you one thing. I bet you that the teams that are on pit road are pumping those right front tires up on these tire changes. They're not running them under Goodyear's recommended air pressure. That's a favorite trick of the teams, is to drop the air pressure on these tires underneath the recommended. But it looks to me like that could be fatal today.
That's in Sterling Marlin's pit. He was one of the drivers that had the problem on the first caution. Marlin running back in 40th, 2 laps down. Rusty Wallace leads as we get set for the restart. Casey Atwood 2nd, Jeff Gordon 3rd, Jeff Burton 4th, John Andretti is 5th.
And Jason Leffler is very, very slow on the apron of the racetrack.
Clear the lap car. Bobby Hamilton Jr. down on the inside.
Tony Stewart trying to drive out, get on the inside of John Andretti. Tony Stewart in the 20 car has a terrific run going today. Started 22nd and is trying to take away 5th. And right behind him is another car that's got a terrific run going. Mike Wallace in the 12 car. He started back in 24th. Maybe Tony is showing him the way, plowing the way through, and Mike Wallace is following.
99 winner of the event, Tony Stewart. And yeah, Mike Wallace has been flying. Change for third. Jeff Burton by Jeff Gordon.
Oh, little bump there from Stewart. Mike Wallace drives up on the outside of Tony Stewart.
If you can see the front of the 12 car of Mike Wallace, look how less he's got cut out in the front of that car. He's got two small little holes, BP, for the brakes, but they're pulling a lot of the air for the brakes from underneath the car. Having it that way gives the car more downforce, so it's not going to slide as much. And I noticed that this morning. 12 car, pretty trick brake system there. How about it, Matt? What else do you have for us on a 12 car?
Well, Wally, he has been loose on entry and tight in the center all day. They made a wedge adjustment on the first stop, an air pressure adjustment on this last stop. But remember, Mike Wallace is auditioning for a job for next year. This 12 team is auditioning to keep this team together for next year. A lot of rumors speculating this team may disband. They've got a lot to prove, and they're showing it right now as Mike Wallace continues to climb up to the pylon, now fifth.
There again, the 12 car looks very similar to how Rusty's car is. Car's running on the low side pretty good.
Of the 5 cars who've had right front problems in this race's first 70 laps, 2 of them belong to Andy Petrie. Bill Weber's with him.
Andy, both your cars had right front tire problems. What's the situation?
Well, I don't really know what's causing it, but we took some camber out of Joe's just this last time, and I think we broke some sway bars, so we got that problem to try to work through. Just a tough day for both cars. Our real concern, though, has been with Ralph Harris. His great loss. He lost his son. And I just wanted to say our heart prayers are with Ralph and his family.
Did you start with aggressive camber?
No, I didn't think we did. I mean, obviously, something's causing this, and you can't just rule that out. So I don't know. I don't know what excessive is, really.
Okay, that's Andy Petrie. He owns the 33 and the 55. A number of Goodyear tire engineers have been down here in the 33 pit looking at the tires. Also quickly from the garage, the 45 car Kyle Petty blew up. Very uncharacteristic. No comment from Kyle. A lot of frustration at Petty Enterprises. Let's go further down pit road to Dave.
Hey, Bill, I checked with Andy Petrie's crew chief on the 55 car, that is Jimmy Elledge, and I asked him the camber question, and Jimmy said, no, we are not aggressive on our camber, and we didn't think we were so very aggressive on our tire pressures either. He also told me that the 33 and the 55 are 2 very different race cars. The front ends on these cars, the way they're built, are very different. One is called a drop snout car, one is a standard snout car. So sometimes you would think that there's some similarities that would cause the 2 cars to have problems, but Jimmy tells me they're completely different, so they're a little stumped down here.
We keep talking about camber, negative camber. Let's go once again, go inside our virtual garage and show you what we're talking about as Jeff Burton takes over the 2nd spot from Casey Atwood. Negative camber. As we peel away the chassis and show you the right front tire. The tire there is straight up. You lean it in, that's negative camber, but you see that the tire is only wearing on the inside with too much negative camber. You run it inside, you run negative camber because the theory is when you get to the corner and put pressure on that tire, that the pressure will go all the way across the tire. But if you lean it in too far, you never get that full pressure on the full tire. You only run it on the inside, therefore causes the tire to get too hot and blow.
And the reason for the negative camber, BP, make it turn better. That's all they're trying to gain out of it, make it turn better. But like you say, it hurts the tire when you do that.
Jeff Burton now pursuing leader Rusty Wallace at Phoenix. 87 of 312 laps are complete. Aerial views here at Phoenix, courtesy of the United States Army, an Army of one. There are 212 ways to be a soldier. Find out more at GoArmy.com.
You see how much harder that Rusty's driving the car into turn 1 than Jeff Burton?
New leader, Jeff Burton, getting by Rusty Wallace moments ago during the commercial. Let's go back and take a look.
This wasn't much to it. Down in turn 1 and 2, Rusty goes high coming off the corner. Burton said, turn to the left and see you, Rusty. Well, it wasn't that easy, was it?
Well, they got to turn 3, it was.
Yeah, Rusty made it easy for him right there, getting in a 3.
But yeah, Rusty is kind of making turn one kind of a square corner. He's really running in there deep before he's turning in.
Yeah, before he was being able to stay down on the bottom all the way through, but like you said, now he's kind of going in and diamonding it almost.
Jeff Burton, the defending winner of this race. We talked with him earlier this weekend about this Phoenix track. It's odd shape, turns 1 and 2, very different from turns 3 and 4. He says it makes it quite a challenge.
Both ends of the racetrack are totally different. You have to drive them totally different, which means you have to make sacrifices. You can't get your car set up perfectly. I think what that makes, what ends up happening when you do that is the driver's ability to communicate with his team what the car needs, and the driver's ability to adapt to the changing racetrack becomes more and more obvious. And to me, that's what racing should be about.
Certainly. I mean, that's what makes this racetrack so great. There's a couple different lines over there. It's wide enough in 3 and 4, although it's flat, that you can race. And it's a lot like Pocono. You know, it's a compromise. You can get it set up for one corner, but you can't get it set up for the other end. So it puts a lot back into the driver's hand.
And once again, as we run laps, Rusty Wallace's Miller Lite car seems to get faster and faster.
Now he's back staying down on the bottom.
Jeff Burton led last year 105 of the 312 laps in this race. His last 3 Phoenix finishes, Winston Cup competition-wise, 4th, 4th, and 1st. That's pretty solid.
I think what he's trying to do right here, he's trying to get the 99 car loose. Especially if he can get close enough in 3 and 4, that's when you can really get a car aero loose. And I think that's what he's been trying to do. But he just can't get close enough to that rear bumper.
Let's go to Marty Snyder.
Well, guys, a lot of talk about camber today, and just for a point of reference, Rusty Wallace's team in the final practice yesterday took out some camber, and their tire temperatures have been perfect. To Matt Yoakum.
Marty, the 12 team does have a reputation for being aggressive with their camber. Peter Suspendo, Zakuchi. Peter, with Mike Wallace in the car, do you run as aggressive camber or a little less when Mayfield was in the car?
We got a little bit less than we normally would run.
How did the tires look that came off the car?
Tires look perfect. Everything build up look good. Tire temperature look good. We should have no camber issue whatsoever today.
The tires look so good, they're actually talking about possibly a 2-tire change on their last stop today. Today, Burns.
Hey, Matt, yesterday in the Busch Series race, Jimmy Johnson melted the bead on a tire, and it caused some concern for this weekend. Now, David Green runs in the Busch Series. He has a good friend, Bobby Labonte. Bobby went to David. He said, is there anything we should be concerned with? And David said, watch your tire temperatures. So today, the 18 car, when they took this right front tire off of the 18 car, they took it to Goodyear and said, will you please dismount it, take it off the rim, check it out, make sure the bead's okay. They did that. Goodyear brought it back, said it's okay. So the 18 car, which doesn't run aggressive camber, just wanted to make sure, and they should be in good shape.
All right, Dave, thanks. Bobby Labonte running in 13th place right now, and you saw the lead change. Rusty Wallace back underneath Jeff Burton. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in that pack, just ahead of Labonte. He's running 12th.
And Jr. started back in the 30th position.
Going to be on the Tonight Show Monday night.
Good for him.
Now, we have run 30 laps since the last caution. Remember, it's been about 30 laps each time we saw a rash of right front troubles. Here are the guys, the 5 drivers that have had the right fronts go down on them so far in those 2 separate, I guess we'll call them incidents.
I think they threw the green about 79 or 80, so I think it's going to be somewhere around 105, 110. We've got to get through that period.
And back up front, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Burton. For all the talk about Dodge coming in as strong as the Dodges were in qualifying, it's a couple of Fords leading the way right now.
But I'm impressed with Casey Atwood. He's hanging in there in 3rd spot, and you see there he is, that red car right behind Burton. He's only last time by a 2.5 seconds behind these 2 cars. Bill, what's Goodyear said about these right front tires?
Well, Benny, I just finished a long conversation with several Goodyear engineers down here on pit road, and Alan, I think you had it perfectly correct when you said the two separate instances involving the tires. Goodyear is fairly convinced that the first two incidents were involving debris, that those tires were cut by debris on the racetrack. They're still looking at the second set of tires from that second incident. But they did make it very clear that ever since this weekend began, they've been stressing air pressure and race setup to these race teams. In fact, they even put out a flyer in the Winston Cup garage, stressing the minimum air pressure and talking to teams about springs and how much pressure they were putting on that right front tire. Goodyear's watching the situation very closely, but they have a lot of confidence in this tire, and they don't think they're going to see a rash of problems throughout the afternoon. But believe me, everybody on pit road is watching.
Yeah, the problem is that, Goodyear does set a standard as far as here's what you should run for pressures, but that's usually very conservative. So the teams almost always go under that. So now they will start creeping up if they see a problem. But so I don't know too many teams to start out with what really the recommended pressures are.
Just past the 1/3 point of today's NASCAR Winston Cup race from Phoenix on NBC. Let's check out where the Coca-Cola family of drivers are running here at Phoenix today. Jeff Burton, John Andretti, Tony Stewart, all solidly in the top 10. Past the 1/3 point of the race. In fact, Ricky Rudd in that group as well. Michael Waltrip has moved up to the 19th spot. He started back in 26th. Kyle Petty is out of the race. Dale Jarrett struggling. He dropped almost to the tail end of the field in the opening laps with an ill-handling car, and he's trying to work his way back through. Speaking of out of the race, Jason Leffler has just taken his car to the garage. He would be the second one to fall out. Kyle Petty losing an engine earlier. And we got past the 30-lap point, and we didn't see another rash of problems.
That's a good thing. My guess is that the teams, once they saw the other cars having problems, have bumped the air pressure in that right front tire up a couple of pounds.
Everybody looking at those tire pressures. It's Jeff Burton's team. Dave?
And Alan, this team is not changing their tire pressures. I just talked with Frankie Starr, the crew chief, and I said, are you pumping up the right front at all? He said, no, because I'm fine. So they've checked things over, and they think they're going to be okay.
Well, with their track record here, you'd have to give them that benefit of the doubt, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would, because they have been very, very good at this speedway.
Rusty Wallace leads Jeff Burton, Casey Atwood, Jeff Gordon, and Mike Wallace here in Phoenix. We'll be back after this. Log on to NBCSports.com for the latest NASCAR news and results and the latest contribution from the 1973 Winston Cup champion, Benny Parsons. What is it this week?
Well, I don't. Just send me a question. We'll try and answer it. How's that, fans?
Simple enough. It's all at NBCSports.com.
Trying to think of a question for you, P. But you're a walking encyclopedia, so
you'd be too tough on me, Wally, I'm sure.
Rusty Wallace is the leader. One of 5 different drivers who've been out in front, traded the lead 7 times between them. Wallace right now leading Jeff Burton by 1.1 seconds. Jeff Gordon is running in 4th spot, but he's being pressured for that position by Mike Wallace, and he just appears these last few laps to be kind of struggling with his car, Marty.
Yeah, very, very loose, Alan, and the longer he runs, the looser he gets. We talked about how desperately they want to win here at Phoenix, so to get some help, they went to an unusual source. Their truck team. Jack Sprague finished 2nd here. They took some of his setup, put it on the car. They really like what it's doing, but not right now. It's a little too loose.
Greg Bickle told me Saturday morning that he learned something in the Truck Series race on Friday that he was able to use on his NASCAR Busch Series car, and it must have worked because he won the NASCAR Busch Series race as well as the trucks.
Phoenix, one of few tracks on the Winston Cup circuit where Jeff Gordon has not hoisted the winner's trophy. Mike Wallace, what a ride he is having. Benny, you talked about it during the pre-race show. In fact, at the very top of the broadcast, drivers needing to audition to secure a place for next year, teams needing to secure their place for next year. Mike, in this 12 car, a combination of both.
That's a combo platter right there. You get both of them going at one price of one. Mike Wallace desperately would like for this team to continue, and he'd love to have that ride. And all the guys working on the car, they say they love working with Mike, and they feel like they could do something good given the chance.
He just give Gordon a little nudge there?
I don't think he got...
Or was that just Jeff wiggling around?
Yeah, I think Jeff's just hanging on because he's loose, and I don't think if the 12 car gets close enough, I don't think Jeff's going to race him real hard, because right there he can make him extremely loose.
Williams race chase, the interval from Rusty Wallace back to brother Mike. 5.8 seconds.
And like I said, Jeff just backed off the throttle and let him go.
Another driver under the auditioning category would be Robbie Gordon in the 31. Bill Weber, he's having a good drive so far.
He is, and that's exactly what Richard Childress is looking for, because they don't really believe that that team has given Robbie Gordon a fair shot to show his stuff. Robbie is a very free spirit when it comes to driving a race car, and Richard Childress knows it's going to take strong leadership to keep him under control, in the seat, and focused. The rest of the season, he wants Robbie finishing races. He wants Robbie earning the respect of his fellow drivers. A lot of talk in the garage this weekend that there will be a significantly different look to that 31 car when we get to Rockingham next weekend. If that is the case, Robbie Gordon will still be in the seat, but it could be a story to watch during the week.
All right, Bill, thanks. Robbie Gordon started 42nd, and he is now running 17th. Here's a good race for position. Ken Schrader in the 36, Ricky Craven in the 32, and Kurt Busch in the 97. This is for 13th, 14th, and 15th.
And Kurt Busch is another car that started way back, started 41st.
Ken Schrader, this is his fourth race in 4 days here at Phoenix. Ran the NASCAR Southwest Tour race on Thursday afternoon. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race Friday afternoon. The NASCAR Busch Series race yesterday. His results, pretty good Thursday, Friday. Pretty hard crash yesterday. Cut down a right front tire.
Lost a right front tire. It's another car that I had forgotten about that.
Schrader, the winningest driver in this track's history in various forms of cars. He's visited Phoenix's victory lane 11 times. If he could do it today, it'd be his first Winston Cup win since 1991. But he's got to catch that 2 car first. Rusty Wallace is the leader of the Checker Auto Parts 500 presented by Pennzoil. We're back after this.
Under caution here at Phoenix, Matt Kenseth on pit road from 38th to 10th, a 4-tire stop, no changes, fuel, and Kenseth on his way down pit road today.
Jeff Burton is in for 4 tires, 1/2 pound of air out of the right rear. He's a little bit tight. That's the only adjustment he needs right now on the 99 car. Marty.
Rusty Wallace was a little loose, Dave. He is the leader. They went down a half around on the track bar, put the air pressure back like it was, and they will not win the race off pit road this time. To Matt Yoakum.
Mike Wallace was still complaining his car was loose on entry, loose off and tight in the center. They made a track bar adjustment, and they closed up the stagger on the 12 car.
Jeff Burton first off pit road. Why the caution? Same thing again, just took a little longer to happen. Had a flat right front tire on Michael Waltrip's car. First the race off pit road.
And we see that Casey Atwood will come out in the 2nd position. Rusty Wallace in 3rd. There's John Andretti. A great stop for Matt Kenseth. And there comes the 12 car of Mike Wallace and the 10 car of Johnny Benson.
This time, instead of 33 or so laps to happen, it took 55, 56. But Michael Waltrip had the right front go down on his car. That's why we're back under the yellow flag now. I don't know what kind of correlation we're seeing here, but let's throw this out for discussion. You had the Andy Petrie team cars. Both have the problem. Bobby Hamilton and Joe Nemechek. Now we've had 2 Dale Earnhardt Incorporated cars, Kenny Wallace and Michael Waltrip. The other two, Ken Schrader and Sterling Marlin, not related, but...
Well, I don't know if it's a coincidence. We were talking about under break that these cars are all part of that rad group that is Richard Childress Racing, Earnhardt, Michael Waltrip, and also the Andy Petrie team. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but there's 4 cars that are part of that group.
I don't know. But right fronts certainly are the headline of the day here in Phoenix. We'll take a break while we're under caution and come back after this. Waltrip with some problems.
NBC's coverage of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series from Phoenix is brought to you by Casey Atwood and the Dew Crew, fueled by Mountain Dew. By Pep Boys, all you need to know is where to go. Pep Boys. By 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls. And by Sears.
A lap away from the restart here at Phoenix International Raceway. Mentioned earlier, it's been a busy weekend of on-track competition. On Friday afternoon, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series ran with Greg Biffle scoring the win over Jack Sprague. That runner-up position for Sprague, though, putting him in position to wrap up the series title in their final event at Fontana, California. NASCAR Busch Series yesterday, Biffle made it 2 for 2, outrunning Jeff Green to the checkered flag. Kevin Harvick's third-place finish, holding his lead on Jeff Green, 198 points, 2 races to go. The Busch Series in Rockingham next Saturday afternoon.
I saw Jack Roush down the garage here this morning. He said, I told him that Biffle said in his Victory Lane speech yesterday he wished he had a car for today so he could go for 3 for 3, and he said, so do I.
Look at this, Jeff Gordon in 5th, out 13th.
Ouch. Marty, what happened?
Well, usually these guys are very reliable, and Todd Gant, the right front tire changer, when he was changing the right front, went to move the hose, and it got caught under the right front fender well. He had to go back around the front of the car, unhook it, and then change the left front tire. Green flag on the racetrack.
So Gordon back in traffic as we go back at it. Jeff Burton is the leader. Casey Atwood is second. First car to the inside is Jimmy Spencer trying to get a lap back.
And he will try hard.
Spencer in 34th place. Ron Hornaday there also has fallen off the lead lap in that 14 car.
Now we'll see how much trouble the rookie, Casey Atwood, the 19 car, has getting through this traffic.
Cars not on the lead lap at this point. Spencer Hornaday, Elliott Sadler, Todd Bodine, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Sterling Marlin, Joe Nemechek, and Bobby Hamilton. Jason Leffler and Kyle Petty are both in the garage with engine problems.
And Rusty Wallace trying to go on the inside, make it 3 wide. Is that going to work? No, he decides to go just 2 wide.
Believe we saw John Andretti just kiss the wall with the right rear fender of his car when he came off turn 4.
Rusty Wallace going for second spot under Casey Atwood. He's got it.
Rusty has led 58 of the 142 laps completed so far on 3 different occasions. Talked about some of the drivers that have run into problems and the various team associations there. Bill Weber's got more.
Well, obviously, the 3 car, or the 29 car for Kevin Harvick and the 31 car from Richard Childress Racing running with the RAD program. Some of the cars that have had troubles here today. So I just finished a conversation with crew chief Kevin Hamlin and car owner Richard Childress. I asked him specifically about the 29 car. Kevin said they have had no problem so far with their right fronts. They just checked the wear. They look fine. They do start slightly below recommended, but that air pressure does build up. Richard Childress says his cars normally do not run an aggressive camber. They're not running it here today. They're also watching that front braking system, telling Kevin to turn the brake bias to use as much rear brake as possible as long as he still feels comfortable. So a number of factors going into this equation to protect that right front tire out.
That's right, Bill. The more you put to the rear, the cooler you're going to try to keep the fronts. Although, the more rear brake you run, the more sideways you get when you get down in the corner. So either way, you got your hands full.
Pretty heavy fight for 4th place on back. Andretti in the 43, Mike Wallace in the 12, Johnny Benson in the 10, and how about Matt Kenseth in the 17? What a great drive he's having. Started 38th. Finished 4th at Talladega last Sunday. Only his 6th top 10 finish of the season. When we talked to Matt during our final practice coverage, he just sounded down. They really have struggled to get the handle on this car throughout the year.
But he is doing a terrific job here. Obviously, he and Robbie Reiser put their heads together last night and made some changes. They are working beautifully on that 17 car. Bill, was that right, or is it just luck?
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, when they got here, they were as bad as a desert mule, but they've worked on it all weekend to make it better. But getting back to the mental approach that Alan was just talking about, they just had a conversation under the caution between Robbie and Matt. And Robbie was really trying to fire up his driver to inspire him after that great pit stop. In fact, they've had back-to-back great Ford-tire pit stops. Robbie said, "Are you having any fun?" And Matt goes, yeah, well, maybe a little bit of fun. Well, we're having fun here in the pits. Good stops. We're fired up. Because they've had such bad luck, you can just tell Matt doesn't want to get too excited until something really, really good happens.
Well, I'll tell you what needs to happen. You need to ride a desert mule, Bill Weber. They're not all that bad.
But they're slow.
Williams race chase, the interval from Matt Kenseth up to his teammate, Jeff Burton, who's the leader, 5.5 seconds. Matt Kenseth, of course, a Winston Cup winner, May of 2000 in the 600 at Charlotte. Likes to, in his spare time, go up to some property he has up in Wisconsin, where he says there's nothing around. You can't see a building, you can't see anything. Pitch a tent and camp out. Now, he doesn't get to do that very often in a Winston Cup driver's schedule, but he got up there a couple times this year and really enjoyed it. Coming up on halfway here in Phoenix, Jeff Burton and Rusty Wallace have been the dominant drivers so far. They're out in front. Big party here at the racetrack last night in Phoenix. Folks at Outback Steakhouse throwing the bloomin' favorites bash. Tons of food and a few celebrity appearances like Dale Jarrett and Kyle Petty on stage. There's Kyle over there signing autographs for the fans. It was a big time. I was disappointed you didn't come, Wall.
I wasn't invited. If we had been there, I would have been to tape that. Probably not.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, Alan takes a camera everywhere he goes.
That's right.
New leader here at Phoenix. Rusty Wallace sliding by Jeff Burton. And Burton didn't put up much of a fight when he got to him.
This is about as simple as it gets. Off turn 2. Rusty got a terrific run in the 2 car, and Jeff Burton says, okay.
Well, he got a terrific run, especially when the 99 gets off the throttle halfway.
Well, it helps. That helped a little bit, yeah.
So Wallace leading this race for the 4th different time. Although he narrowly avoided some bad luck when that last caution came out. Isn't that right, Marty?
Very narrowly, Alan. Rusty Wallace, when he came down pit road, had a flat right front tire, and it was not because of camber or air pressure. When he came down pit road, he hit some debris and got a big cut in his tire. It was flat. The crew had trouble getting the jack underneath the car, and he had a long stop. That's why he had to come back up through the field. I asked Robin Pemberton, are you at recommended air pressure? He said, we're a little bit below that, but we're fine.
Nice of him to spell out cut for Marty, too.
John got sideways there.
Andretti losing 2 positions here in the last 2 laps. Mike Wallace got by him, then Johnny Benson. And here comes Matt Kenseth. Remember, I talked about earlier on, just after that restart, Andretti touched the wall with the right rear corner of his car.
Oh, and he just about, the 17 car almost touched the wall with the right side of his car.
Looks like John might be a little bit loose there, getting in the corner. And getting off the corner for that matter.
Yeah, looks like he just loose, period.
Well, Matt Kenseth wasn't having any flashbacks to the end of the Busch Series race yesterday when he went outside of John off turn 2. You were with us from that one. Closing laps, racing Todd Bodine for a spot. Matt's car got away from him. He bounced off that wall leaving turn 2, and it turned him head-on into the backstretch wall. A pretty hard crash.
I think Bobby Labonte moving up behind John Andretti. He's quietly moved into the top 10 in the 8th position. Marty, what's going on with 43? Has he said anything?
Well, BP, they've been fighting the same problem all day long. They are tight in the middle of the corner and really loose off. And it seems every adjustment they've made has not done anything to help the car. And you talk about a team in desperate need of a good run. These guys have not finished in the top 10 since Bristol in March.
Ouch. But I spoke with Kyle Petty last night, and he said John Andretti did the Petty Enterprises team test here. And when John does their tests, they usually run pretty well. Second place.
I don't know who did the test for Evernham, if it was Casey Atwood or Bill Elliott, or maybe they didn't test. But I tell you what, Casey Atwood, this 19 car, is really, really fast. Okay, we talked about tight. We showed you what we're talking about by tight earlier on. We'll use the word loose a great deal up here in the booth. And here's what we're talking about. Our virtual garage. Your car goes down the corner, preferred line on the bottom of the racetrack. All of a sudden, the back end kicks out. A little exaggerated, but that's what we mean when we say loose.
I still don't like that little kick out to the right first.
Oh, you don't?
No.
That's what was the phrase they used to call that? The hospital wobble?
Yeah.
Casey Atwood, the 19 car, just a little bit faster than Rusty Wallace.
Okay, BP, what's Casey Atwood's best ever Winston Cup finish?
I'm sure you know.
Absolutely, I know, or I wouldn't ask.
Well, that's not. You see, you should never ask us a question that you know the answer to.
Just testing your racing trivia knowledge. How about a 9th at Dover in September? Perfect. Best ever. Very much on track to try and beat that today.
Hospital wobble.
You never heard that phrase?
Tank slapper.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. Dave Byrne, what do you got?
The 99 car, Alan, of Jeff Burton has dropped from first to third now. And the reason is because he's really loose. He's been on the radio talking to his crew, and he tells them, I need more than just an air pressure adjustment. Originally, they thought that would take care of it, but he's asking for chassis adjustments as well because the car is really loose for Jeff to drive right now. And he's saying, I'm going to just ride this thing out. They're telling him, take care of the right rear tire. Now, usually you hear that sort of thing on an open wheel race, a sprint car race, something like that, where they have these big, wide right rear tires. But even Jeff Burton now, with these tires on his stock car, is taking care of the right rear.
All right, so that's the story on Burton's car, who runs in third position now, 2 seconds behind leader Rusty Wallace.
And what you're doing to take care of the right rear, what you're trying to accomplish is A, not wear the right rear out, to slide the car to where you wear out all the rubber so you have no traction, and B, not to slide the right rear to where you get it so hot. The hotter you get that tire, the less it's going to grip. So he's just trying to run a nice smooth line and not overheat those tires or wear out the right rear.
Just past halfway here at Phoenix with Rusty Wallace leading. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Tonight, Game 2 of the World Series happening right there. Bank One Ballpark in downtown Phoenix. We're to the south and west of the downtown area at the Phoenix International Raceway with NASCAR on NBC. Next Saturday night, in prime time at 6:30 Eastern Time, Michael Jordan returns to the NBA on NBC. It's been 3 seasons since we saw Jordan's memorable last shot in the NBA Finals. Now the 6-time world champions back as his Wizards face the defending Eastern Conference champion 76ers. Michael Jordan in the NBA on NBC next Saturday night at 6:30 Eastern in prime time.
Well, Rusty Wallace,
he's been prime time today, and
he has been prime time. So he's put another lap on the 40 car of Sterling Marlin.
Rusty has led 78 of the 172 laps running the race so far. We talked about how hot it is here in Phoenix today.
That looks like 140, BP.
140 degrees.
Inside Rusty Wallace's car.
Right up there you see the 140 is in blue.
Actually, it's green.
Green, actually, yes.
But that's what you meant.
That's what I meant was green, yes.
So it's 140 degrees inside Rusty Wallace's car.
I would say it's probably about 148 degrees inside that car.
Because it's pegged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only remaining one says over 150.
So I guess it's not pegged.
Yeah. And that's on the floorboard. So a lot of heat coming off the floorboards these race cars.
Just a Sunday drive.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about it, the drivers talk about it hot in the car, that's what we're talking about. Rusty still got brakes there, Wally.
Still got brakes. I saw 2 safety pumps, but look at the throttle. Look how long and easy he took to get after that throttle. That's what happens when you're sliding around. All of a sudden, you're driving on an ice track. So now he's going to do things a little bit longer on the brake and probably a little bit easier on that throttle. Certainly a lot later on the throttle. See how he's squeezing it, squeezing it, squeezing it? Now he goes down. Totally opposite when he had fresh tires.
And he does that all by feel. He goes to the floorboard with the accelerator when his rear end tells him it's okay to do so.
And I'm just fascinated by the fact that they talk about drivers getting in a rhythm, but if you watch Rusty's feet, it's just that same rhythm over and over again, that same pattern, back and forth and back and forth.
I'm impressed how well that pedal is staying up.
And I think if we went back and we had a floor cam of somebody that wasn't handling, we'd see a lot different deal on his brake pedal, because when your car's handling, you don't use as much brakes here at Phoenix. If you're having a hard time handling, you'll use your brakes more.
Okay, how about somebody that is having a hard time handling? How about Sterling Marlin? Had a flat right front tire earlier in the race. He's running back in 38th place. He's 4 laps down to the leader.
All right, let's see as he goes to the corner. He hits the brakes, and that rotor turns cherry red. But as soon as he backs off the throttle, all those air ducts in that front bumper, blowing that air back at 150 miles per hour, cools it off fairly quickly. Fairly quick.
Look at the tire deflection, Benny.
Yeah, the sidewall on that thing is so flimsy. You watch him in the straightaway, the tire's straight, he goes down the corner, and watch how he tries to roll that right front tire up under the car. And that's why they run negative camber. As it tries to roll that tire under the car, it straightens it up and therefore wears evenly across the tire.
So Sterling kind of struggling along here. Having had his problems in the early part of the race, it's not going to be a good finish for the driver that is 4th in the championship. Rusty Wallace is your leader. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Rusty Wallace is the leader of the Checker Auto Parts 500 presented by Pennzoil at the Phoenix International Raceway. He's up by 9/10 of a second on Casey Atwood. Next weekend, our NASCAR coverage moves on to Rockingham, North Carolina, that high-banked, very fast mile track. Bud Pole qualifying is Friday at 3 Eastern Time. Then next Saturday, Winston Cup final practice at noon Eastern, followed by the NASCAR Busch Series.
What's wrong with those two? What's wrong with two? Rusty Wallace.
Casey Atwood out front. Is it a right front?
Outside.
Right front's down. See the defender dragging the ground?
Right and left.
Another right front.
Can't tell. For 4 tires.
Rusty Wallace has led 91 of the 186 laps so far. He's going to lose at least 1 lap, even if they just change 2 tires.
We heard Robin say change. I think Rusty said he did not know what was wrong, and Robin said change 4 tires.
But they'll jack the right side up. See, it's a right front, and maybe just change 2. Go, Marty.
Well, this is terrible disappointment for these guys. Obviously, it's a right front problem. As you can see, it's Rusty shaking inside the car as he pulled it to a stop here. They were hoping for great things today, and I'll reiterate to you, the last 3 times Rusty Wallace has led the most laps in a race. He has not gone on to win that race. The chassis to this point was terrific. Rusty said nothing about it. He was very happy with things. Roger Penske this morning won his 2nd straight kart title. They were hoping today to give him his 2nd Winston Cup win of 2001.
Rusty heads back onto the track. He is a lap and a half behind the new leader, Casey Atwood. And let's also mention that Ken Schrader came down pit road under the green during the commercial, flat right front tire. This is one
look like this guy at 24 is too conservative right now.
No, he looks like he's trying to work his way toward the front. This is a battle for the 10th position, and it's been going on for several laps now.
While we watch this, Rusty Wallace has come out in 34th place, a lap and a half behind leader Casey Atwood. Now, if we stay green through a full set of pit stops, then Rusty's right back in the thick of things. If.
Very, very big if.
And the way we've seen the right fronts going down today, that's a huge if.
Alan, when are they going to pit?
Last in at lap 133, Wally.
Okay. Well, they can run another 30 laps or so before they have to pit for fuel.
Let's take you through the field and give you some stories on how your favorite drivers are running. We'll start with the leader. Marty Snyder's got Casey Atwood's day.
Well, the problems for Rusty Wallace gives Casey Atwood the lead, and he's been doing an outstanding job today. That's the young 21-year-old. The car a little bit loose right now, and I don't know, I think it's a good sign that Ray Evernham has stopped preaching to him on the radio about being patient. I guess Casey has now gotten the message, and he's doing a wonderful job. Today, Burns.
Jeff Burton had his advantage in turn number 4. That was his best corner. He has lost that advantage. He is now very loose there. He radioed in, if you tighten me up, I can run with them. Of course, one of the them is gone. That was Rusty Wallace. He thinks he can run with Casey Atwood if they tighten his car up. Matt?
Mike Wallace continues to impress in the 12 car, running in the 3rd position. They feel like if the circumstances that they can control fall their way, they will have a good day, and that's what they're doing right now. They had an engine change unscheduled after happy hour because they just felt like it wasn't performing the way they needed it to. Right now, they're talking about going back to the air pressure that they had on their previous set of tires. Bill?
Well, an outstanding Sunday afternoon drive for Matt Kenseth from 38th to 4th. And with the bad luck the other guys are having out there, you know he's just thinking, when is it going to happen to me? Because in the last few weeks, it always has. So far, not today. Outstanding coaching from Robbie Reiser, his crew chief, and cheerleading from spotter Mike Kalanoff, hoping to keep Matt focused and enthused during this race. Matt?
Ricky Rudd was another driver who had an unscheduled engine change. They felt like the engine just was not as good as the engine they had in the first session yesterday, so they made a change. They felt like they had nothing to lose. Right now, Ricky says the car is tight. They have continued to adjust that race car with air pressure. Meanwhile, Johnny Benson, another driver searching out his first career win. Johnny reporting, and he feels like he's got a vibration in the right front. Right now, the car is loose off the corner, while tight in and tight in the center. Today,
Matt, the Joe Gibbs Racing cars are running 7th and 8th. Tony Stewart started 22nd today, had worked his way up to 6th, then had a very bad set of tires, according to Tony, and could not drive the car. We've got problems on the racetrack.
It's the leader in trouble in turn 4.
Is that tire down? Right front tire is flat.
Casey Atwood has a right front down. This is about the longest we've run under the green flag today. It's about 61 laps. They ran 61 laps earlier. Now this turns into a race for the lead. Jeff Burton, Mike Wallace. What is going on?
Cover the pit stop, Marty.
Boy, these guys on pit road can catch a break. It does not pay to be in the lead. They're having a little trouble getting the right front off for Casey Atwood. Again, no warning. All he said was the car was a little bit loose. He did not complain about anything with the right front. And I asked Ray Evernham earlier. He said they were not aggressive on the camber setting. It will be 4 tires and fuel. Again, if this cycles through, Rusty Wallace and Casey Atwood should be fine.
Well, Casey's tire did not look like it was shredded, so they should be able to take that wheel off and see if it was a bead that melted that tire down or if these tires are getting cut.
That's right, because he had the flat going in turn 3 and came directly into the pit. So maybe we can learn something from the Casey Atwood tire. Tony Stewart goes by the 10 car of Benson and moves into the 5th position.
Jeff Gordon's team is through their the NASCAR inspector in their pits, making a claim that there's some debris all over the track and they need a caution.
Oh yeah.
Now seriously, if you're a crew chief now and you've seen the two leaders have problems, what do you do?
You're very nervous. That's all you can do is chew gum, pace, whatever it takes you to be nervous. Oh, man.
You don't just come in and make a green flag stop.
No, you can't.
No, I agree with Benny. You got to run your own race. You can't worry about what's happening to other cars.
All right, let's go back and continue our discussion of drivers as we go through the field. We go to Dave Burns.
And Jimmy Makar, the crew chief of the 18, is worrying about what is happening to other cars. He just radioed to Bobby, take care of your tires. We also heard that from Dale Jarrett's radio as well. So the crew chiefs are saying, take care of those tires. Right now, Bobby hates his car. It's chattering going into the turns. It's really not very good. Matt?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. started his car today a little bit on the loose side because they figured the track may tighten up on them because that's the characteristic they saw in happy hour. And that's where they are right now. The car is just a tick on the tight side. He's currently in the 8th position. The biggest concern for Tony is the crew chief. Although his car is tight, that's the problem that most teams have had when they started to lose tires. To Marty.
Pat, everybody worried about tires. The same caution going out on the radio to Jeff Gordon. Take care of those tires. His car is loose. It gets looser the longer it runs. And a lot of times, a loose race car will help keep the right front cool.
Another flat right front on Kenny Wallace's car. Wow. Second one of the day for him. Dave?
I had checked with Paul Andrews, the crew chief for Kenny Wallace earlier. I said, did you guys go back up on the air pressure to try to avoid the problem? He said, yes, but we didn't think we had to. We put the air in the tires that we started the race with, which is always a little bit higher. So they are confused, they are frustrated because they say they're doing it right and they're still having problems.
There again, there was another tire where we could take it off and see if there was a cut. You got to think about how hot these cars on the right fronts are right now, and the heat possibly burning down the bead of these tires.
That's one other thing that I could think about is that the brakes are getting so hot. We don't see that when we go on board these cars, but it may be that brake is getting so hot. Let's go inside our virtual garage and show you what we're talking about by excessive brake heat. The rotors turn red 1,100 degrees when these guys use the brakes. And there's the tire right up against the wheel. And it gets so hot that the bead that mounts up against the wheel gets so hot it just actually melts the rubber on the tire. See that rotor? And you see that tire that's right by the 1,100 degree rotor? It just melted.
And the caution flag is out here at Phoenix. Debris on the racetrack, 4th yellow of the day. It comes out exactly 70 laps of racing from the last caution flag. And that's the longest we've run between yellows all day.
And that's not what Rusty Wallace wanted to see.
No, but it's a great break for Casey Atwood because he stayed on the lead lap with his green flag pit stop. It happened to him in turn 3. He's able to duck right onto the pits. It was a very fortunate break for him that his tire went down in turn 3. And it's a huge break for all these guys who can get those tires off and get a look at them under the caution, Bill.
And Matt Kenseth leads the parade, currently 3rd, desperate to get to pit road after hearing and seeing what's going on the racetrack. 4 tires, fuel, no changes. Matt?
The goal for the 12 team is to come in first and leave first. No adjustments for Mike Wallace, just 4 tires and fuels. To Dave.
He was very, very loose, Jeff Burton's car was. Big wedge adjustment, he said. Put as much in as you can, but don't hold up the stop. They put on 4 tires as well. Marty?
Jeff Gordon comes in running 8th, Dave. Still the championship leader of the car, very loose. They made a wedge adjustment on the right side, and 4 tires for Jeff Gordon.
Trouble on that left rear on Gordon's car. And we see that Mike Wallace is going to come out of the pits, the leader in 5th spot.
And let's go back and update that Casey Atwood, when he first came off the pit lane, was shown as being the last car on the lead lap. Now they're showing him the first car 1 lap down. So he didn't quite get to the pace car. As you see, he missed it by just a couple. Under caution, 2/3 of the way through here in Phoenix. It's not been a good day to be the leader of this one, that's for sure. Back at Phoenix, still under caution. They brought the jet blowers out to try and make sure the racetrack is as clean as it can be. Here's our Napa Field summary. It has been crazy here today A lot of different drivers just having problems. The numbers, 13 lead changes. The drivers who've led: Rusty Wallace, Casey Atwood, Jeff Burton, Mike Wallace, John Andretti, and Jimmy Spencer. Almost every one of the caution flags, in fact, every one of the caution flags, have been for debris from right front tires that have gone down on about 8 different cars in this event.
NBC's coverage of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series from Phoenix is brought to you by Budweiser. With the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you. By the United States Army, an army of one. By Pizza Hut, where every week this fall you can get one of our pizzas for an unbelievable low price. And by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge.
30 cars on the lead lap with 104 laps remaining at Phoenix International Raceway in a day that has been turned inside out for some of the front runners by tire troubles. Rusty Wallace and Casey Atwood both cutting down a right front while leading, dropping them back into the field. A total of 8 different teams, 10 different times have had problems on their right front corner today.
And here's where you can do a lot of damage to that right front tire right now on the restart. When the pressures are low, you can actually damage the tire when you run down there into turn 1 and that tire's not up to the air pressure it needs to be.
Getting set for the restart, the 2 cars at the head of both lines are on the tail end of the lead lap. Casey Atwood and Kenny Wallace did not pit. They are in front of leader Jeff Burton. Rusty Wallace to the inside trying to get a lap back from Burton. And you see our race chase bubbles over the first 3 in the running order: Burton, Rudd, and Kenseth.
What a terrific pit stop that the 28 car must have had to be able to move up to the 3rd position. Well, and Rusty could not get by his brother to get up and race with those guys. And Jeff Burton has already put the 19 car Atwood a lap down.
And as strong as Casey's been today, that's a good idea.
And we've got 3 Wallace brothers running side by side back there.
Burton, Rudd, Kenseth, top 3. Then Tony Stewart came off the pit lane 4th. Mike Wallace 5th. Bobby Labonte 6th. Jeff Gordon 7th. John Andretti 8th. Johnny Benson 9th. And Robbie Gordon has raced up into the top 10.
That 28 car's been pretty sneaky getting up here. Ricky Rudd, one of the tracks, I think he's really one of his strongest tracks. Flat track. I think he's going to be tough before this race is over.
There are the Wallace brothers in the 12-2-1. Remember, Rusty not on the lead lap. Talked about Ricky Rudd. He started 21st, the 95 winner of this race. Suddenly finds himself in contention, Matt.
And I'll tell you what, Alan, if you look back to last year, the biggest heartbreak for this 28 team was right here at Phoenix. They led 41 laps, and then they were crashed out while leading within sight of the finish. They came back here racing for redemption. Currently, he's in the 2nd position. I spoke with his crew chief, Fatback Michael McSwain. They came in 3rd, went out 2nd, no adjustments, but they are playing it a little conservative as far as how they start out under air pressure. They feel like that is starting to pay off for them.
Yeah, Matt, that crash last year happened with 19 laps to go. A couple of lap cars got tangled up on the backstretch, and Ricky just had no place to go, ran right into it. Jeff Burton has led 4 different times today, 39 laps all total. Rusty Wallace has led 91 laps, Casey Atwood 71. Burton has not had problems, Wallace and Atwood have. 6th place.
That is being hotly contested right now, that 6th spot. Labonte's on the outside, Jeff Gordon on the inside. Gordon comes back, but the 66 car of Todd Bodine is going to play into this thing a little bit.
Todd's a lap down in 34th place.
Well, Jeff Gordon takes that spot away, and here comes Johnny Benson. Man just can't get a break, can he? One car goes by, and here comes another one. He's going by. Now it's the 31 car of Robbie Gordon. He's trying to go by.
Ooh, a little squeeze there. Spencer not on the lead lap in that 26 car. He's in 35th place.
That is a great run today for Robbie Gordon. That Lowe's car moved up to the 8th position. Did Ward Burton just touch the wall on turn 2?
Yes, he did. If he did, he had a great opportunity.
If he didn't, he sure scared it. How about Ward, Dave?
Well, I think I can explain that, Alan. The 22 car all day long, Ward has been having trouble getting off the corners and in the throttle. Whenever he gets in the throttle, the car really wants to push. And I guess if you were coming off the corner and you were going toward the wall and you got back in the throttle, which is what you're supposed to do, and it was tight, it would go further toward the wall. And that's what they've been trying to fix all day on Ward's car.
I think Wally yesterday said it just about right off turn 2 that the groove is 1 foot on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, where you really want to be is on the other side of the wall. Unfortunately, you can't get there without hitting something.
That's a race for position there between Ward Burton and Kurt Busch for 13th spot. And you see the gap from Ward to his younger brother, Jeff, who's the race leader.
See Mark Martin in front of this group in 12th position. Mark has struggled early on, but it looks like he and Jimmy Finning and all the crew have made some adjustments, got the Viagra car running pretty well now.
And look who's just in front of them.
That's what I just noticed. Dale Jarrett. How did he do this?
Dale Jarrett's car was handling so poorly in the opening laps of this race. He dropped from 16th starting spot to 40th. Looks like they've got it going a lot better now, Dave.
Well, they sure do, but Todd Parrott was shrugging his shoulders just a couple of pit stops ago. The car started out tight, then it was loose, and Todd really didn't know what they were going to do. This last time, they took on Ford tires, went down on the track bar because he was still a little bit loose in the center, but they've been able to correct most of the problems they started out with, and DJ is, as they say, up on the wheel driving the car.
Talked to Dale some last night. You remember back at Kansas City, he had that nasty crash near the end of the race in turn 1 and 2 that left him with some rib cage damage and also hurt his right wrist. I asked him, you getting over that? Are you feeling better? He said, believe it or not, when I'm inside the race car, I feel great, but boy, it still hurts to get in and out of the car. That rib has taken a longer time to heal than I'd like for it to.
Yeah, we're running 500-mile races just about every week. It's going to be real tough to heal.
Rusty Wallace has been able to clear the 2 car. He's been able to get by the 12 of his brother Mike, the 1 of Kenny.
And he's still in 30th place, 1 lap down. Rusty was leading at lap 185, but he slowed with a flat right front tire. Marty?
Well, let's try and find out what happened to that right front tire. Robin Pemberton, the crew chief. Robin, what was Goodyear's best guess as to what happened to the right front?
I don't know. They're taking a look at it. I mean, we run 50 laps, and we hadn't any tire trouble all day long. There was a lot of debris out there earlier, and we cut a tire down. So it's more likely it's not a tire problem, just run over something.
And at some point, the driver's probably got to lose confidence in the right front and you as well. Do you worry about that with Rusty at all?
No, he's smart enough to know, you know, it's just an isolated case.
Again, they reiterated to me several times today, they were very conservative on camera. To Bill Weber.
Marty, back here in the Goodyear garage with Carolyn Ashby, the marketing manager for Goodyear's Racing Tire. Carolyn, about the tire problems we've seen today, can you update us on the situation?
Well, we're seeing a lot of heat-related issues pertaining to the right front. Certainly we've seen much higher temperatures here this year. The air temperature is up about 30 degrees from last year. We have looked at right fronts all race long. Majority of the teams are fine. We have seen some issues related to cuts and a few related to setups and camber and heat.
So you have seen some tires that have failed today?
Yes, there have been some for various reasons. There's a variety of setups out there. This tire appears to be very sensitive to our minimum air pressure, and even the slightest bit below that, we have had some failures for teams running below our recommended 28 pounds.
This tire has a lot of experience. You have confidence in that right front tire?
Absolutely. We have raced this many times this year and feel very comfortable with this tire. Again, it's a combination of things with the heat and setups.
All right, so Alan, that's the story from back here in the Goodyear garage, a combination of things contributing to these right fronts. Of course, Goodyear is watching it very closely. They've been meeting back here in the garage, and their engineers have been watching developments on pit road.
All right, Bill, thank you. And, of course, the record highs here in Phoenix so far this week. 98 degrees yesterday, the day before. Just about that warm today.
And Carolyn, look at all the tire troubles.
That's more than isolated.
Yeah. And I think Carolyn brought up a very good point that it's 30 degrees hotter this year than it was last. We talked about at the very top of the show that temperature was going to create some problems today.
It has. And all those drivers. Most notably Rusty Wallace and Casey Atwood, who were the two dominant leaders in the race. Jeff Burton is the man out in front now. 86 laps to go in Phoenix. Jeff Burton, your leader here at Phoenix, as we come back with NASCAR on NBC, and 80 laps to go in what has been a trouble-filled day for those who spent a lot of time out in front. Monday night, you might want to stay up late for The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Jay welcomes the one and only Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. probably be a pretty cool guest with Jay.
I'm sure he will be.
Not as cool as BP would be. You'd be cool.
Real cool, huh?
He'd be big.
He'd be big.
That's Monday night, late night on NBC. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Jr. had a little problem on his last pit stop that's dropped him back in the pack a little bit. Stalled the car when it was time to leave his pit stall. They had to push it to get it going. Matt, cost him a lot of ground.
Certainly did, Alan. He lost 8 spots. He entered pit road in 8th and left in 16th. Walt Smith, the pit crew coach over DEI, certainly would be proud of these guys today. 4 stops. The worst was the last one at 15.7. 14 flat stops. So when they dropped the jack, Dale Earnhardt Jr. stalled the car, and the guys, the Bud guys, had to push that car down pit road to get it to refire. It just would not refire. They lost a lot of positions.
See the 5-star, Terry Labonte. Great run. He's up in 16th position. Trying to chase down Dale Earnhardt Jr. Nice. Great to see Labonte, Terry Labonte up there battling with these guys.
Yep. 94 winner here is Terry. Remember the race 96, his championship year, had the crash in practice and broke the thumb and started the backup car way in the back and drove it right on up through the field. Finished 3rd that race. Speaking of championships, let's examine where the 2001 title contenders are. Ricky Rudd is running in 2nd. Jeff Gordon is back in 6th. That's certainly not enough of a gap for Rudd to gain any kind of ground. Of course, we talked with Ricky earlier this weekend on the championship battle, and he was naturally not too optimistic.
We pretty much wrote those points off, I think, with that failure at Martinsville. That pretty much did us in, and it's a shame it's come to that we basically, I feel like we beat ourselves a little bit. All these guys worked awfully hard, to get it to that point in the season, to be competitive, and I thought we were competitive enough to really challenge for the championship right down to the last race, but it wasn't meant to be, so we pick up the pieces and move on, and we're in a heck of a battle trying to maintain and keep 2nd. That's going to be a tough race from here on out to stay 2nd.
It's only 74 points up on Tony Stewart for the runner-up spot in the championship.
And Tony Stewart is just 3 cars behind him in 5th position.
So Ricky very quietly, as you said earlier, Wally, kind of picking his way up through from his 21st starting spot to 2nd. Unfortunately, Ricky right now for him is 3.8 seconds behind the leader, Jeff Burton. And there's the gap back to Tony Stewart. Tony 74 points behind Ricky for 2nd. He's only 3 points ahead of Sterling Marlin for 3rd. And a race for the 9th, check that, 8th spot, Bobby Labonte and Robbie Gordon.
Well, you were right to begin with, because whoever loses is going to be 9th. And it would be Robbie Gordon.
John Andretti and Dale Jarrett just behind them.
Here's a guy that's had a terrific run going today. Back in the 17th position, old Buckshot Jones.
Yep. Started 19th. For a guy who has failed to make 9 races this season, he's really struggled this year. The whole Petty organization has. We talked about it a week ago at Talladega. It's a good, solid day for him.
Look, the lowest he's been is 41st, so he's fought his way back.
Turn 3. Robert Presley is into the outside wall. Caution flag is out.
Gee, let me guess.
Nope.
And we see Casey Atwood trying to get a lap out.
I
I think he did.
Yes, he did.
I believe he did.
Jeff might be kicking himself for that.
And confirmation from NASCAR. Casey Atwood is legal. He gets his lap back.
The only problem is now Casey Atwood is going to have to start somewhere around 20th on the restart.
Yeah, but he's still got 70 laps to go. Fast as that car's been.
Yeah, I think that's going to be okay.
All right, let's check out what happened to Robert Presley.
Contact there. Contact by Terry Nadeau.
Nadeau had all four, had the brakes smoking on his car there.
That kind of strange looking.
He's trying to get it slowed down. All right, here they come.
Maybe the last pit stops of the day. Pressure on the crews now, Bill.
Absolutely, Alan, and the 17 crew has had some outstanding stops. They've had terrible luck the last few weeks, not only in Winston Cup, but at Busch as well. Now they need a good stop and a little luck on the racetrack. Matt Jensen to be headed to victory lane. 4 tires, no changes, Matt.
A 4-tire change for Ricky Rudd as he enters pit road. In the second spot as Bobby Burrell comes around to work on the left front. Ray Holm on the back to Dave.
Still trying to get Jeff Burton's car tightened up a bit around a wedge in the left rear, around down on the track bar to fix that situation. Marty.
Jeff Gordon running 6 said, give me more of that stuff you gave me last time. It needs to be a little bit tighter, a wedge adjustment, and a slow stop for these guys as they run off pit road.
Mike Wallace was first off the pit lane by a mile. I want to double check and see if he got all 4 tires or if they just took 2.
Look at Mike Wallace. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. Ricky Rudd goes by, and then Jeff Burton. If they change 4 on Mike Wallace's car, 2 tires, I'm told, on the 12 car.
So a little strategy call there by crew chief Peter Suspenzo, and Mike Wallace is going to be your new leader here at Phoenix. 70 laps to go. Back for the restart.
Can't fight the need for speed. I'm loose, I'm clean, I'm gonna lead and lead. Get your hands on the hardest driving CD of the year, NASCAR Full Throttle, the official NASCAR soundtrack featuring Metallica, Creed, POD, and many more. Don't be caught at the finish line without your copy of Full Throttle. Available now.
Those are all of Benny Parsons' favorite bands.
There's not a banjo one in that whole group.
I can guarantee I've been riding with Benny in the rental car all weekend. We haven't heard anything like that. No, he's found the scratchiest AM station he could pull in.
You know what? I'm really amazed at Mike Wallace and these guys, the guys that changed 2 tires for strategy. When we restart this race, we're going to have Mike Wallace leading, Rusty Wallace and Kenny Wallace beside of him, trying to get a lap back with 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, Mike Wallace and Ricky Craven's teams took just the 2 tires on the stop. All the tire problems we've seen today, though, have been on the right side.
Yeah, you know, that's why we know that it's not just the cut tires or running over debris, because it's always the right front.
But still, I think after what we've seen today, I want 4. I want to be safe on that one.
2:46 complete, 3:12 make up the distance today. Matt Yoakum, how about the call by Mike Wallace's team for 2 tires?
The call, Alan, didn't come until Mike Wallace was already in his pit stall. They were talking about 4 tires down pit road, and then Peter Suspenzo, the crew chief, said 2 tires, rights only, and then they made the change. It's something that Peter learned by watching the Busch Series race on Saturday when Kevin Harvick only took on 2 tires. They felt like Harvick was very strong at the end on 2, and they feel like their car is going to be very strong on 2 as well.
Well, Harvick did wind up finishing 3rd yesterday.
How many laps did they have left when they did that? You know, Mr. Stat?
Well, if you'll give me about 5 minutes to dig through my briefcase,
you don't have 5 minutes.
Series file. I know I don't. That's my point.
Let's see, we got what,
65 to go here.
Okay, that's a long time on left sides plus whatever they've got on there.
Kenny and Rusty Wallace trying to get a lap back to the inside of Mike Wallace. Green flag. The race chase bubbles are on the lead lap cars, those racing for the top spot. Mike Wallace, Ricky Rudd, and Jeff Burton.
And Rusty needs to slide in right. Oh, man, he needs to slide up there.
And Kenny is still there in that 1 car.
And And Ricky Rudd trying to follow him into that low lane.
Oh! Kenny goes up the racetrack, uses his brother a little bit, and gets in front of Michael. Here comes Ricky Rudd for the lead.
Rudd has not yet led today. By the way, Casey Atwood restarted in 26th place. Back on the lead lap. Ken Schrader in the 36, not on the lead lap. He's in 31st place. And Mike Wallace manages to fend Rudd off for now.
And we see Jeff Burton, the 99 car, is going by Rusty Wallace on the outside. And Kenny Wallace in the 1 car has driven away from these 3 cars.
Kenny now the last car on the lead lap. He's in 29th place, needing a caution to come back around. Remember, he's had 2 flat right fronts today. That 1 car has. Got 4 Fords in the top 4 spots. Then the Pontiac of Tony Stewart. Top Chevrolet is Jeff Gordon in 7th. Top Dodge is John Andretti in 11th, though that's a little deceiving. Casey Atwood has had about the strongest or second strongest car all day until he got a flat tire.
Ricky Rudd is looking on the inside of Mike Wallace. Can't quite make it. Falls back in behind him because he knows he's seen Mike Wallace is going to the bottom down in turn 1 every time. He's got to be solidly alongside that 12 before he goes down in the corner too hard.
Pokes the nose in again for a look. Wallace up the racetrack. Can Rudd take advantage?
Look down there, trying to look. He's down there.
He's there this time.
Still inside, nice and smooth. Still down there.
Mike Wallace's radio. Mike just not giving in.
No, but you got to think the 4 tires are going to win out eventually here. Although, I think he only has 25 laps on the left side for the 12 car of Mike Wallace. So it's not really a lot of laps on the left side tire.
Jeff Burton lurking in 3rd, trying to see which lane's going to move forward first. And this is Rusty Wallace's view.
All clear for now, all clear.
All clear. And here comes Jeff Burton on the outside of Ricky Rudd.
So as Mike Wallace settles back into the lead for the moment, Jeff Burton takes 2nd from Rudd. The last caution brought out when Robert Presley crashed in turn 3. Bill Weber's with him.
In the garage with Robert, you're okay? What happened?
I just got off in 3 there. About 2 laps before that, got a miss in the car and went down into 1.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Trouble on the track, Robert.
3 cars involved. Up in turn 4.
Is Mike going to give Rusty a lap back?
Here come the leaders through the accident site. Everybody's cleared away.
Slow down.
Rusty Wallace comes through. Ken Schrader.
One more coming there. Let him go. All good.
Ken Schrader, a very close friend of Mike Wallace, gets a lap back there too. Ryan Newman involved. Dave Blaney involved in the crash in turn 4.
I think the 97 of Kurt Busch, wasn't he involved as well?
Yeah, he was. He has driven away without a lot of significant damage on his car, but that's the big one right there, the Ryan Newman car.
See if we can see what develops here, BP. 97 car slides up in front of the 26. Jimmy gives him a little boot. Of course, the 97's going around. Everybody jams up.
Mark Martin sliding through sideways.
Ryan Newman had nowhere to go. Martin did a great job saving that car.
He turned that baby, just turned it dead left.
That's his old dirt track experience coming in handy there, huh?
Another shot. We see the shot that Jimmy Spencer is going to give Kurt Busch. Just drives onto the back of the car.
And it looked from there like the 97 was loose, and he slid up in front of Jimmy, and he was still loose. He couldn't get after the gas, and Jimmy was already in the gas.
Michael Walter barely gets by in there.
15, he got into somebody big there. His hood is a lot of damage there.
Let's go on board Kevin Harvick through the mess.
Easy.
Come on.
That's how sideways Mark was.
Man.
When you can look through both the windows.
Let's go back beforehand.
Yo.
Whoa. He just goes down in the dirt, goes by the 26, and I don't think evidently Jimmy didn't appreciate that.
There was nothing. I don't see anything wrong with what Kurt did on that deal. He was up alongside him far enough. There's no foul there.
Maybe just picked up some dirt there on his tires, and that's why he slid up in front of Jimmy and couldn't get on the gas, like you said the first time around.
I'm sure he just slid up there, and he was loose, couldn't get after the gas, so Jimmy, I don't think, was anticipating him to not go. But the 15 car must have gotten the back of Terry Labonte, and that's what did all that damage to his hood.
Pit road is closed because of the liquid and debris that was dropped in turn 4 and down into the garage area. So nobody's made any pit stops yet. They're going to open the pit lane this time by.
Now then, how many cars will stop, do you think?
If I'm Rusty Wallace and Ken Schrader and Kenny Wallace that just got back on the lead lap, I'm in.
You know they're going to stop, and also probably the 19 car of Casey Atwood. But is Mike Wallace, Jeff Burton, Ricky Rudd, how many of those cars are going to stop?
Ooh, big question.
All right, green flag is out. Pit road is open. Here comes Mike. Is this a trick?
Yep.
Oh.
Trick or treat.
So far, no takers for pit road. Looks like 22nd place Jerry Nadeau is going to be the first and one of the few to stop. 54 to go. What was it Tony Stewart said during the pre-race show about filming that promo?
I was trying to get up the steps when he said that.
Oh, that's right. You were sweating profusely at that moment. Next weekend, it's Bud Pole qualifying from Rockingham. CNN Sports Illustrated, Friday at 3 Eastern Time. Saturday on TNT, Winston Cup final practice at noon Eastern Time. Followed by, this was the point last time we did this, the crash happened, the NASCAR Busch Series, Sam's Club 200. Then next Sunday, the Winston Cup action is on TNT. It's the Pop Secret Microwave 400 at 12:30 Eastern Time. Waved off the restart. We will come back for the green flag after this. Tonight, beginning at 9/8 Central, two of NBC's newest dramas are back-to-back in a hot action-packed 2-hour lineup. First, it's Law & Order Criminal Intent, followed by UC Undercover. Tonight, starting at 9/8 Central here on NBC.
Wally, I don't think there's any criminal intent there, but they might be undercover. I think that guy could be an agent. Could be.
Alan, is that family of yours?
No, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Robert Presley, Bill, go ahead.
Okay, before we were rudely interrupted, you were telling me what happened out there.
Well, the car just got a miss there with a couple of laps before we got in that accident up there. Evidently, something went through the radiator and got the motor hot. And I think it was about to cut off going up back straightaway. They were waving my arm, and evidently Jerry got in there a little bit hard and got into me, but I don't think it's nothing intentional.
Okay, you've been to the care center, you're okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
All right, we'll see you at Rockingham.
Okay, thank you.
Alan?
All right, Bill Robert, one of those guys auditioning for a ride for next year, needs work.
You know, I mean, it was great that we had that interview because when we see that replay, it looks like Jerry Nadeau was at blame, and really he wasn't.
Yep. Well, that's why we went back and did it. Still trying to clean up the track. We'll come back for the restart. Ready for the restart here in Phoenix. It'll come with 47 laps to go. Mike Wallace is the leader. Ron Hornaday in the green car is the first one a lap down in 31st place. Our Williams Race Chase bubbles over the top three as we go back at it.
Hornaday is trying to stay on that lead lap, but Mike Wallace gets a terrific run off of turn 2. Can he get to the bottom of the racetrack? Yes, he did. And now he has a lap car.
Let's go to work.
Between himself and Jeff Burton. But that won't last long.
Wallace, Jeff Burton, Ricky Rudd, the top three. Then Matt Kenseth, fourth. Tony Stewart, fifth. The rest of the top 10, Ricky Craven, Jeff Gordon, Johnny Benson, Robbie Gordon, and Bobby Labonte. Let's mention that Rusty Wallace took the green flag in 25th place with 47 laps to go and some fresh tires on.
All of a sudden, Jeff Burton, the 99 car, seems to be struggling on this restart.
Remember that on the last pit stop that these cars made, Mike Wallace only took right side tires. The guys that are pursuing him all got 4. And we'll also update you that Ryan Newman has taken his car to the garage after that last accident. It has been retired from the race.
Hornaday still hangs in there. Oh, this time he goes up the racetrack, leaves an opening for Jeff Burton, and here comes Burton alongside.
Could we see another first-time Winston Cup winner today? Mike Wallace in his 103rd Winston Cup start. His best ever finish was a 5th place run at Atlanta in November '94. And if he's trying to get Roger Penske's attention and convince him that this team needs to keep going next year and he needs to be driving it, he's doing a great job of it today.
He certainly has. Actually, he's done a great job ever since he stepped inside this car. I guess Charlotte was the first time that he ran the car. Oh, we got trouble.
John Andretti.
Oh, no.
And the tough year for Petty Enterprises.
Talk to me, John. You okay, bud?
Continues.
Okay. 10-4. 10-4.
7th caution. Ron Hornaday not able to get his lap back.
That will not turn, will it, BP?
No, it will not. The left front wheel has hit the wall hard and is jammed up and will not turn.
We should get that. That'll blow here in a second. That's going a long way without blowing.
John started second in the race, led a couple of laps.
On the bottom, bad chicane there.
Well, another chance for these guys to pit.
Didn't last time.
No, didn't last time. I don't guess they will this time.
Rusty Wallace, by the way, restarted in 25th. He only picked up 2 spots in those few laps before the caution waved. He's running 23rd now. Any takers to pit road? So far, nope. No would be the answer. Mark Martin's going to come in. Had a report he had a fender rubbing against the tire just before that caution came out.
A lot of damage to that 43 car. There's Mark Martin. Let's see, a lot of damage to the right rear on his car.
From the last crash there where he got knocked sideways through the wreck.
See if we can see what might have happened to John Andretti off turn 2. He just brushed the wall.
Yep. And he may have got tagged.
Once he brushed the wall, I think then someone got in the back of him and turned him around.
Yep.
Might have been Terry Labonte.
Haven't they been talking all day about this car being loose?
Well, it certainly looks loose. Exactly what happened.
That's Dale Jr.
Outside, caution south.
Yeah, when John jumped off the throttle as he was hitting the wall, and Junior, was in the gas already right behind him. What do you got down there, Marty?
Well, I have a very damaged race car that has already been shut off because it looks like the brake line has been cut. They see some fluid coming from the left rear. They're going to pull off these left side tires, which are obviously flat, and they're going to get in there and check the brake line and see if it is indeed cut, but they saw some fluid coming from there. Alan?
40 laps to go here at Phoenix. Mike Wallace trying to grab his first NASCAR Winston Cup Series win. Just back underway, half a lap past the green flag here at Phoenix. 38 laps to go. Mike Wallace, Jeff Burton, and Ricky Rudd have all cleared the lap car of Ron Hornaday.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Back in Concord, North Carolina, Carla Wallace and Lindsay and Chrissy and Matt are nervous as they can be. Oh, here goes Burton to the outside.
Now, last restart, Burton didn't get going very well.
He's going now, and then Mike's carrying him up the hill off turn 2.
I won't let him beat you off that corner.
Still a long way to go in this race. Mike Wallace with just 2 tires on his last pit stop. I'll say it again. Remember, the guys chasing him got 4 fresh ones. Wallace settled down for the moment, or has it? Hang on. Here comes Burton looking outside again.
Come on. It's going to be all clear. Come on.
Wallace the block.
Whoa! And now Ricky Rudd drives to the outside of Jeff Burton.
Burton almost caught that wall.
He
He had to get out of the gas. All right, while we have a second, Bill.
Alan in the garage area with Ryan Newman, a hard hit. You're okay?
Yeah, okay. We had a pretty good strategy there. Took 2 tires, gained 10 positions. Struggled all day just with the race car getting a good balance, but just wrong place at the wrong time there for the all-tail Ford, and a 97 car was right in front of me sideways, and it's pretty hard to miss that sometimes.
That's your last race. We'll see you next year, right?
The last race in Winston Cup, we're racing Rockingham and Homestead in the Busch Series. Look forward to next year's full season in Winston Cup.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Alan?
All right, Bill, thanks. They made that announcement earlier this week in Arkansas that Ryan Newman is full-time with Alltel sponsorship on the Winston Cup Tour 2002. Jeff Burton outside of Mike Wallace again.
He is there. Oh, just between Wallace and the wall.
Hold you on. We still got a long way to go.
Ricky Rudd trying to see which lane's going to open up. Jeff Burton has used that outside lane all day long in turns 1 and 2. He just got the lead with it.
That's at 28, right? You bump the drive.
Joel Edmonds, the spotter for Mike Wallace, keeping him apprised of everything going on behind him.
All clear, all clear.
Fifth time today, Jeff Burton has led. To become the second man to score back-to-back wins here at Phoenix. The only driver that's ever won in Winston Cup competition here more than once, Davey Allison. He did it in 1991 and 1992. Matt Kenseth hanging right in there in 4th. Finished 4th at Talladega last week, equaling his season's best. The other one came in Michigan in August.
I am really impressed with the run that Matt Kenseth, the 17 car, has had today, after they struggled so much in qualifying, and even yesterday in happy hour.
Robbie Gordon, Ricky Craven for 6th place. Gordon gets it. What a drive he's had today. Great job. Robbie Gordon has never finished in the top 10 in a Winston Cup race other than on a road course. His best oval track finish was a 13th at Las Vegas in the spring of 2000. Bill Weber?
And he is a past winner here, of course, in the kart series. Has had a very patient attack today, but when they went back to the previous green flag before they threw the green, he told his crew, now it's time to go. They jumped on the radio and said, remember, those front fenders are your friends.
Don't bend the front fenders, because that's where you get the downforce that allows that car to get down the corner and turn.
Here's Ricky Rudd taking a peek on Mike Wallace. Second spot, nothing happening yet. Jeff Burton has left these drivers by 1.07 seconds.
Tell you what, Mike Wallace, the 12th car, hanging tough. Just haven't changed right sides. The other cars have changed 4.
Mike's previous best finish in a Winston Cup race here at Phoenix was a 28th place run in 1994. Hasn't run a Winston Cup race here since 95.
Makes a big difference when you get in a good piece like he's in right now.
Just behind these 3 that are racing for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, there's Tony Stewart in 5th.
cars, you can see Jeff Burton is starting to stretch away from Mike Wallace. He's now 2.5 in front. Dave, what is saying in Jeff Burton's pit?
Well, Benny, just before that last caution, Jeff radioed in and said, if I knew there were going to be all these cautions, I wouldn't have made that last change. Remember that he was loose and they were trying to tighten that car up. So as he started to imply, short runs were not good for him. So you would expect his car to get better as the laps count down here.
Dale Jr. is in a flat right front. The other two Dale Earnhardt Incorporated cars had right front problems today. Michael Waltrip had one. Kenny Wallace had two.
I don't know, but the 97 jammed out of brakes, hit the 8, and the 4 hit the 97 car of Dave Blaney.
Now this is something more than a tire. In fact, you can see the tires are up.
They're not in a very big hurry, are they?
Matt?
Dale Jr. came on the radio and said, guys, get me off the racetrack. He said, something is wrong with the engine. So he pulled it in. It is quiet. Jeff Clark and Kevin Pinnell are looking under the hood, but a tough break here for Dale Jr.
Last week's winner at Talladega is not going to finish here today in Phoenix.
As a matter of fact, he's probably going to finish about 37th or 38th. There's that many cars still on the racetrack.
John Andretti, Ryan Newman, Jason Leffler, Robert Presley, and Kyle Petty are those out of the race. The angle of the sun as we get later in the day here in Phoenix, the grandstands down in turn 1 and 2 now really throw some shadows across the racing surface. How much does that affect the driver and how much does that affect the car?
Actually, it's better than it used to be when those grandstands weren't there, because when they weren't there, the sun used to come straight into the windshield as you were going down the straightaway. PP, you better remember going to turn 1, you couldn't see the racetrack sometimes.
Couldn't see a thing. Yesterday, Greg Biffle had almost half his windshield covered for the sun, but yes, it's a lot better because of the grandstands they built there, and that really blocks that sun late in the afternoon.
Doesn't affect your... Look at this.
That's good. It used to be worse than that.
Oh, yeah, we can see a car down there. But used to, you literally could not see the racetrack when you turned to the left to go down in the corner.
And the tear-offs that they use on the windshields now have helped that some, too, because the windshields are not covered with as much oil and sand pitting as they used to be.
Those things are really cool. What Alan's talking about is when they put the windshield in right off the bat at the shop, they put these clear Lexton sheets over the windshield, and they can actually take each sheet off during pit stops. And all that oil and rubber you see on the right side of the windshield, Jeff Gordon's car, that's just like somebody puts in a new piece of glass after a pit stop. So it really helps drivers through the race.
Dale Jr. to the garage.
And Bobby Hamilton Jr., we saw him run in the back of the 93 car when the 8 car slowed in front of him. Now all of a sudden he is very, very slow. And Jr. did a good job driving that thing right on the truck.
Matt?
Well, I've caught up with Tony Uri Jr., the car chief on the 8 car. Tony, what's wrong with the engine?
It sounds like we lost a couple cylinders there. Had a problem with a starter on one pit stop, and it's been getting a little bit slower all day today, but something finally let go. I don't know. It seems like it's a valve train or something. We'll go back here and pull it apart, see if we can find something, get back out there maybe.
Well, he clinched a Busch Series championship here, but in the Winston Cup side, this number 8 bunch certainly had a tough go.
I don't think there's going to be much to come back out for.
No, by the time they get the valve covers off, the race is going to be over.
Probably get on the airplane and head to L.A. Be on the Tonight Show tomorrow night with Jay Leno. Bobby Hamilton Jr. also taking his car to the garage. Question for you as we watch Jeff Burton extend his lead over Mike Wallace. They last took on tires with 70 laps to go. Given all of the issues we've seen today, are they nervous about this at all?
I don't think so, because I think that the caution flags have saved whatever problems they might have with the right front tire. And I think after all the trouble they've seen, that surely they have upped the air pressure a little bit to try to avoid that problem.
And we got the report from pit road earlier, Frankie Stoddard telling us that he was not concerned at all that his tires were in danger.
And another thing that's happening, just talked about a little while ago, Alan, that shade on the racetrack is cooling things down a little bit, so the temperature's probably come down a little bit, which is also a help with the temperature on the right front.
Storyline of this one today, 8 different teams on 10 different occasions losing right front tires. We heard from Goodyear earlier for a variety of reasons. They believe a couple of them cut, a couple of them due to air pressure settings by the teams and chassis settings, and a couple of them just heat failure on a very hot afternoon. Here in the Valley of the Sun, temperature in the mid to upper 90s through the day. And Rusty Wallace, here's Kim doing her thing. When it's time to count down toward a win, she gets all torn up over it. So the big stories of the day, Rusty Wallace and Casey Atwood, the 2 drivers who have dominated a lot of this one, both cutting down right fronts while leading, taking them out of contention.
And they've worked their way. Casey Atwood is now up to 14th and Rusty Wallace 15th, but we know how fast their cars are, but just trying to wade through this traffic is very, very difficult.
If he leads the rest of the way, Jeff Burton will have led the most laps today. Barely over Rusty Wallace. And barring anything going wrong from here to the finish, he's pretty well in command. Though, we've seen late caution flags turn these things inside out before. Let's take a look back from the leader. The gap to second place, Mike Wallace. Third place, Ricky Rudd, and fourth place, Matt Kenseth. What a day it's been for Matt.
There's Tony Stewart. He's the 5th place car. There he comes.
99 winner of the race, Stewart. Pull off another great run in his 100th Winston Cup start. Here's the race for 6th. Robbie Gordon holding down the spot for now over Ricky Craven, both of whom have had very steady days today. In fact, you might call Robbie Gordon's day spectacular since he started way back in 42nd. And there's the championship leader, Jeff Gordon. Not going to get his Phoenix dry spell broken today, but he's going to knock off another top 10 run.
And Ricky Rudd will gain a few points, but when you have a 395-point lead, what's a few points?
Good day for Johnny Benson. Thought they had a car they could get up to contend to win with. He'll have to settle for a top 10. He's running 9th now. And what a rally today for Dale Jarrett. Fell back to the tail of the field in the opening laps with an ill-handling car. Looks like he's going to get a top 10 out of it, too.
If he can hold off Ward Burton, and it looks like he'll be able to do that because Ward is only got 10 laps to go.
Ward's in 11th.
How about Kenny Wallace? He's worked his way back up to the 12th position, right behind Ward Burton.
From not 1, but 2 flat right front tires. Great job, Kenny. Bobby Labonte running in 13th. He was up there knocking around for a top 6, 5 maybe finish earlier, but handling's gone away a bit on his car. And Casey Atwood.
Polson this afternoon in a very, very fast race car, but he had a flat tire and had a tough time and could not make it up. He made the lap up, but just could not find his way back to all the traffic.
It was lap 195. He was leading at the time, and there's Rusty Wallace, lap 185, while he was leading. Flat right front tire. Buckshot Jones is going to equal his season's best finish. 16th place at Talladega in April. He's running 16th now. And he'll carry the colors for Petty Enterprises today.
And Kevin Hart, I know that Harvick and the Jim Goodrich crew thought they'd have a better run today because they were very good in happy hour and seemed to be pleased with the car, but it was not exactly what they needed. Now he's 17th.
Ken Schrader came back from a flat tire to get onto the lead lap. He's running in 18th place, another team that had high hopes for the day today. And this is a race for position here. Mark Martin and Terry Labonte for 19th and 20th.
I think Stacy Compton's in that race, too.
Yes, sir. So Mark 19th, Terry 20th. Maybe not for long. Here comes Stacy.
Oh, here's Ricky Rudd. He's on the inside of Mike Wallace. He's got to run.
This is second place. Maybe those old old left side tire starting to show themselves on Mike's car here in the final laps. He's sure not giving in.
He's not giving up. He's fighting for that second spot. And he might have held him off. Yes, he did. What'd you say his best finish ever was? Fifth
place.
Man.
Atlanta 1994.
But meanwhile, while they battled, that allowed Kenseth to drive up right behind Ricky Rudd.
5 to go. Less than 5. Now make it 4. As Jeff Burton sets to come to the start-finish line, looking to make it back-to-back victories here at Phoenix. Jeff Gordon, Robbie Gordon. They got together coming off turn 4. Jeff put the bumper to Robbie a little bit, then backed off and let him gather it back up.
Do what you can, but don't lose much time. 32's coming. Let him cool down. Go get him. Clear.
So Jeff Gordon takes 6th.
Well, not so fast.
Outside.
Okay. I'll give you that.
7th place is going to be a good finish for Robbie Gordon.
Be a terrific run for him.
He should be very happy with that. Jeff Burton, figured by many, including myself, to be a major contender for the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship this season. Started out the year with 4 of the first 6 races finishing 30th or worse. Took them some time to get their confidence, their setups dialed in for this new generation Goodyear tire. But in the second half of the season, they've certainly done it. Moved all the way up to 10th place in the championship. And he's a mile and a half away from his 2nd win of the season.
Hey, Kim, it's going to be okay. Kim, it's okay.
White flag.
One to go.
Final mile for Jeff Burton.
Float it in, baby. I got to get one of those in there. Float it in.
Frankie Stoddard. Some lap traffic ahead.
All the traffic. Got 3 seconds on them.
Just in case they happen to get crossed up in front of him. Davey Allison won back-to-back races at Phoenix in 1991 and 1992. 2000 and 2001. Jeff Burton will repeat the feat. Checkered flag for Jeff. Here's the race for 2nd.
Whoa,
Mike Wallace nips Ricky Rudd at the line for his best ever Winston Cup finish. Jeff Gordon, the championship leader, comes home 6th. Ricky Rudd gains a small amount of ground today, but this one is all about Jeff Burton. Back-to-back victories at Phoenix for Burton and the 99 team. Dave?
And Frank Stoddard is looking for his team to go celebrate. But Frankie, with all the right fronts going down today, were you never worried about your tires?
No, I was really never concerned. Goodyear brought a great tire here. If you stay within their recommendations, you know, I think you're going to be okay. It did seem to be like the Chevrolets and the Dodges, who've got all the front downforce from the kickout they got on the nose. He had a huge tire problem. Maybe that's the problem that was causing it. I got to say one thing. How about Jeff Burton? What a move to pass Mike Wallace over here. He makes it exciting 2 years in a row here. This whole Citgo Super Guide team had everything in the 14s all day on pit road, and it's been a long time since Charlotte, but we're glad to be back in victory lane, and maybe we can get a couple more.
Congratulations, Frankie. Congratulations to the entire team. Interesting comment regarding the rules on the front ends of these cars. Alan?
Especially if you look at the results with 4 Fords in the top 4 spots. Star-Spangled celebration at Phoenix for Jeff Burton as we check those results. 2nd win of 2001 for Burton and company. They won the 600 at Charlotte back Memorial Weekend. Good rally for Kenny Wallace to get 11th.
And Casey Atwood 14th, Rusty Wallace 15th. Fighting back some flat right fronts. 28 cars finished today in the lead lap. Todd Bodine 1 lap down, back in 29th position.
And the drivers who had problems, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., John Andretti, and Kyle Petty, who was the first one out of the race, finishing just 65 laps. Our Pepsi race recap. 43 drivers went to the green flag on a steaming upper 90-degree day, and the story was tires. 8 different teams, 10 different drivers had flat right fronts. That was Bobby Hamilton early in the day. Same time, Sterling Marlin had one go down. Ken Schrader had his problems. This was Joe Nemechek. Same story. Kenny Wallace not once but twice the right front went down on his car. Michael Waltrip continuing the litany of problems. Rusty Wallace leading the race. Casey Atwood leading the race. Both suffered the same fate. They'd be relegated to 14th and 15th at the checkered flag. Lap 241, Robert Presley into the turn 3 wall hard, setting up the finish. Mike Wallace's team goes for 2 tires on their pit stop. This is Kurt Busch getting tagged by Jimmy Spencer. 3 cars involved in that wreck. Late in the race, John Andretti turned around off turn 2 into the outside wall on the back straightaway. Jeff Burton getting around Mike Wallace at lap 279, and he went on to score his 2nd straight win here at the Phoenix Mile. He's rolled into victory lane. And Bill Weber is there ready to speak with him. Bill?
Well, Jeff Burton has just rolled into victory lane. I'm sure he's going to have a cool drink and relax for just a moment. But we talked to him on the wagon before the start of the 500 at Charlotte, and he talked about what a tough year it's been, not only on the track, but off, and how quickly he would prefer for this year to come to a conclusion. But you heard us talk to him in the pre-race show when he said that he thought the team was getting stronger, that they were working harder and getting closer to getting back to victory lane. Well, today here in Phoenix, he repeats and comes back to victory lane with his 2nd consecutive win here at this track, his first since the 600 at Charlotte back in May. And Jeff Burton slowly climbs out of the car and celebrates with his team here at Victory Lane in Phoenix. Crew Chief Frank Stoddard is here too. Congratulations.
That was tough.
Great win for you.
We certainly had some, excuse me.
You okay?
No.
His wife Kim is here.
Had some help with the 2 and the 19 having trouble, no doubt about that. They were both really fast. I think the 2 had all of us beat, to be quite honest, but we kept working and made our car a lot better than it was when we started. We were way too loose to start. Just real proud of my guys. You know, this is a perfect example of what our team's all about. We've been knocked down all year, but we've never quit, and we just believe in ourselves, and we just keep working. You know, we're just a microcosm of what America's all about.
How about the pass for the win, Jeff?
Hey, well, that was. I knew Mike was going to run real hard because he's never won a Winston Cup race. He runs hard anyway, and I knew he was going to run real hard. And he ran me up in the wall there a couple of times, but I knew if I ever got beside him, he couldn't do that because he would crash with me. But I'm not being critical of him. He did a good job. He's doing what he was supposed to do. I want to say hi to Paige at home. Miss her not being here, but we'll bring a trophy home for you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Matt.
Bill, Mike Wallace, it's a career day from 24th to 2nd, 2.645 seconds from your first win. You guys are getting closer, but this must seem like a win.
That's pretty big, wasn't it, Matt? I mean, I just can't say enough for Penske Racing, Mobil 1. I mean, the Mobil 1 folks have just been so supportive of this, and we've been able to run up front every time we've been in this car for the 4 races now, and we brought home a 2nd, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to win this thing, but Jeff Burton actually had a faster car most of the day. You know, him and Rusty were probably the quickest cars out there, and but my crew did a phenomenal job. Chassis setup was really good. The Penske motors ran well. The whole entire Mobil team, and my wife Carla and the kids at home, they fought for a lot of this. You know, we've been through a lot of ups and downs this year, and this is kind of a little just reward. And it's my mom's birthday, so Mom, happy birthday very much. And phenomenal. We're here 2nd in Phoenix.
He's auditioning. A+ job today, Alan.
Championship standings. Ricky Rudd finished 3rd. Jeff Gordon 6th. Rudd only gaining 15 points with now 4 races to go in the 2001 Winston Cup campaign. It's off to Rockingham next Sunday on TNT. A hot one here in Phoenix today. Jeff Burton scored the victory, his 2nd of 2001. We'll see you next weekend at Rockingham.